March 5th, 1770. The Boston Massacre. You are there.
Border Crime Cat reporting, Monday, March 5th, 1770. There was rioting in Boston today. Taxes, again, are at the root of it. Taxes imposed by Parliament without the consent of the colonies, the towns and duties. Ever since the soldiers arrived to keep the king's peace, 4,000 British soldiers, 1 soldier to every 4 citizens, Boston has been the scene of growing tensions and increasing disorders. Speeches, parades, bonfires, brawls, like the incident at Gray's Rope Walk last Friday when 10 rope walkers attacked 3 soldiers of the British 29th Regiment. The soldiers were severely beaten. This morning, Monday, posters appeared stating that the soldiers are determined to defend themselves. Throughout the day, tension has been mounting steadily. Citizens are milling in the streets, and the soldiers are out, too, with loaded muskets. Taxes are at the root of the rioting in Boston today. But those scores of impromptu speeches in every section of the town give a clear indication of how far beyond taxes the resentment of the people has swollen. King's tyranny, the Sons of Liberty cried. Send the lobster-backed soldiers home. As the day advances, it seems a miracle that no lives have been lost, no blood has been spilled in the riots so far, but the crowds are larger and the bumping, bruising incidents are increasing. We take you now to King Street, where Dick Joy is standing by at a position near the Custom House. All things are as they were then, except
you are there.
This is Dick Joy speaking to you from King Street, near the Custom House. Outside Murray's barracks, across the square, where a detachment of British troops is quartered, about 50 men have been standing for more than an hour, shouting at the soldiers inside and cursing and hurling snowballs at the building. All at once, as if by command from somewhere, the crowd came across the square past our position here and turned off King Street. The moment the street is deserted. Just a minute. What's this?
The Boston train. Sons of the stupid king. Dirty lobsters for sale or hire.
I'm warning you, boy. Now shut your bleeding mouth.
Lobster brains.
What time you got here?
Your captain owes my master money for a hair.
Oh, so that's who you are, eh? The barber's boy.
And I know where you can find a dirty job, sir. Lobster back, sweeping up the streets.
Go on, get back, you filthy master.
My master won't have me back until I bring your captain's money for his hair.
Money, eh? So I'll give you money.
Hold that mouth,
Leave that boy alone. I'm not afraid. Let him come. This is what I do to lobsters.
Your colonel give you medals now for beating boys?
His captain owes my master money. I offered him a job so he could pay.
The same job Sam Gray told him Friday, eh, bully boy? Hey, Bloodyback, you want to earn a little extra money?
We're marching down the Boston train, sons of the stupid king, with lobster backs and lobster brains and lobster everything.
Pretty swine, you'll call a boy, will you?
Stand back.
I'll kill you with my hands.
You taste lead first.
Careful now. This musket's loaded. Clouding a boy, you haven't got the guts to fire.
Let that try me, Yankee mohair.
Come on. We'll take the boy to Sam Adams. You clouded the barber's boy. You've seen him. I saw him for sure. I won't forget his face. I'll change that ugly face.
Just one step forward.
Stop it, Alex. He's mad enough and fool enough to fire in spite of his orders. Now, come on. We have muskets of our own. You're no use to us dead. Come on. You'll hear from this tonight, Bloodyback.
Just a minute, soldier. Soldier, I'd like to ask a question. This incident undoubtedly will be reported with others like it all over town to Sam Adams and the Sons of Liberty. Everyone knows these incidents are only the beginning. Do you know where it will all end? Well, it appears our soldier is in no mood to talk with us. We take you now to Harlow Wilcox in the governor's office in the State House.
Harlow Wilcox reporting. This is the governor's office in the State House. The 2 men you see have been in emergency conference most of the day. The man in uniform is Colonel Dalrymple, commanding the British troops in Boston, and the other gentleman is former Chief Justice Thomas Hutchinson, now acting governor of the colony.
Minor local disturbances amount to rebellion. Now, I will not declare martial law, legally or otherwise.
You're no longer Chief Justice. You're acting governor of this colony.
Despite your opinion of our people, Colonel, there are shrewd legal minds here, as in all American colonies. Men who would leap at the opportunity to show that I had labeled these petty brawls rebellion.
Some Providence lawyers, like John Adams, I suppose.
Don't underestimate John Adams. He's an able barrister.
He's a traitor to the king.
Not yet. But if we're not careful, he and others like him may be driven to it. No. I was thinking more of his cousin, Sam Adams, and of James Otis, and of the Sons of Liberty.
Sam Adams and his drunken mob are behind this whole thing. You know it and I know it. Why don't you let me arrest them?
Make martyrs of them, Colonel? Besides, how long do you think you could hold them? They have friends in every colony.
Very well, Governor. You're the civil administration here. But Boston is seething with violence and brawls. Now, you've told me what you won't do. What will you do?
I don't know. I don't know. Perhaps if you withdraw all your soldiers from the streets.
You couldn't mean that.
Well, your soldiers are the source of all this irritation. You know that.
I know this. My soldiers were sent here to keep the king's peace. That is our mission.
Subject, of course, to the civil administration, Colonel.
Governor, for the last time, I'm requesting you to grant me permission to command my soldiers to defend themselves.
Permission for your soldiers to fire on the citizens? The request is denied, Colonel.
Very well, Governor. However, inasmuch as Boston is now in a state of rebellion and disorder, and inasmuch as I can find no civil administration competent to deal with the emergency, I must advise you that henceforth I will take any action I deem necessary to restore order and the king's peace.
Colonel Dalrymple, I promise you, Colonel, any soldier who fires on a citizen of this colony will be tried in our civil courts on a charge of assault with a deadly weapon and attempt to commit murder.
My soldiers will restore order to Boston, sir. Good day.
Governor Hutchinson.
Yes.
It is said, sir, that your sympathies lie with England.
Said by whom? Sam Adams? I am a civil servant of the king. I am also acting governor of this colony. Therefore, my loyalty is to the king, but my sympathies are with the people of Massachusetts.
In these restless times, then, you feel such a divided allegiance is possible?
It is possible only to a rational man.
Sir, you spoke of your admiration for John Adams.
Admiration is the wrong word. He's a good barrister. Too good sometimes for the king's best interests.
Is that why you tried to appoint him Advocate General of the Admiralty?
John Adams made a mistake when he declined that appointment.
Sam Adams believes you made a mistake, Governor, when you accepted your appointment.
This is no time to be discussing personalities. I have official responsibilities to attend to. You will excuse me.
Grant Holcomb, at the south end of Boston, is standing by with Mr. John Adams. Come in, Grant Holcomb.
This is Grant Holcomb reporting, and the Whig gentleman coming up the street is Mr. John Adams, the eminent Boston barrister. He's one of the few men who still has the respect of both Whigs and Tories in this town of violent loyalties, and he's consented to a brief interview.
I'm afraid it must be quite brief.
I understand, sir. Your wife is ill, and you're anxious to get home to her as soon as
Now, with Boston in this sort of temper, I'm indeed anxious about all our wives and children.
Mr. Adams, what's happening in Boston today? What does it really mean?
That's right. I think what's happening here is the inevitable result of a long series of mistakes and mutual misunderstandings on the part of both England and the colonies.
Then you don't agree with Governor Hutchinson when he says these are only petty brawls and minor local disturbances?
If that's the governor's true opinion, I consider it to be another example of misunderstanding. Presumably we colonials are free men. You know that when I go through my own gate this evening, I'll be challenged by a British sentry. Free men, I suggest, are capable of policing their own communities. Is it any wonder that Pennsylvania's Mr. Benjamin Franklin wrote from London only the other day that he's been in constant panic since he heard of troops assembling in Boston?
The British commander, Colonel Dalrymple, has said that your cousin, I'm quoting him now, he says that your cousin, Sam Adams, and his drunken mob are behind all this. Would you care to comment on that, sir?
As we all know, there are always roustabouts and ruffians who'll join anything for the sake of a riot. And some of these have joined the so-called Sons of Liberty, an organization whose membership is principally composed of honest, sincere colonial citizens. Farmers, shopkeepers, laboring men. I must confess that my cousin Sam and I disagree on many issues, including some of the activities of the Sons of Liberty. You see, he's a politician, I'm a barrister.
Yes, I know, but just one more question. The colony, sir, they petitioned London, have they not, for the right to send colonial representatives to Parliament?
They have indeed, repeatedly. Would you like to hear England's latest reply to our petition?
I'd like to hear it very much, sir.
From the new Prime Minister, Lord North himself. Pressed me so deeply I've committed it to memory. Lord North said, and I quote, "The drunken ragamuffins of a vociferous mob are exalted into equal importance with men of judgment, morals, and property. I can never acquiesce in the absurd opinion that all men are equal."
Are those fire bells, sir?
Oh, Sons of Liberty, more likely. I'm sorry, I really must go. I lose all sense of time when I'm on this subject.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Adams. Now, we've just received word here that Mr. Adams' brother...
Excuse me, sorry. One last word. What's happening here in Boston is not casual or superficial. It's dreadful in its significance and implications. England's lack of understanding is rendering the colonial position untenable. Once American blood is shed, I fear it may be too late.
Again, thank you, sir. Now, we've just received word that Sam Adams has been located at an inn in the north end of town, so we switch you there. Todd Hunter reporting.
This is Todd Hunter. We're in a rear room in a North End tavern called the Salutation. Behind that closed door, we've been told Mr. Sam Adams is meeting with some of the leaders of the Sons of Liberty, and we sort of hope that... Yes.
You want somebody?
We were told Mr. Sam Adams is in that room.
Well, maybe he is.
We were told he might answer some questions.
There's more than one Sam here. Maybe I get some answers for you. I'm Sam Gray.
Oh, Sam Gray, the rope walker?
That's right. I'm him. I'm the one that beat up them 3 lobsterbacks Friday and...
Oh, you're the one... Oh, excuse me.
It's all right. I think I've had all I had to say about them 3 dirty lobsterbacks. Every time I think of it, it makes my... Oh, never mind. Oh. It's a reporter. Everything all right?
It's all right.
It's all right, Alex. Come on. Stand. Oh, yes, sir. The reporter would like to talk to you.
Oh, well, come on in. I'm Sam Adams. What's on your mind? Oh, excuse me.
Ask him.
Mr. Pemberton, Molyneux, Captain McIntyre. All gentlemen in the sight of their creator.
Yes,
and Sons of Liberty in the sight of men.
Don't forget Sam Gray.
Oh, our gladiator? Who can forget Sam Gray and those thumps he struck for liberty last Friday? His country won't forget him. Nor 3 English soldiers either, eh, Sam?
That's right. I hope my country never forgets me, because I bashed those dirty lobster faces in.
Brick Church. Alex accomplished his mission. Yes. That would turn the North Shore out with fire bags and buckets. Governor Hutchison, His Imperial Grace, will climb into his nightshirt and pull the bedclothes up over his head, I'm certain.
Mr. Adams, the differences between you and Governor Hutchinson have been brewing.
I don't like pompous men.
The governor claims his sympathies are with the people of Massachusetts.
Hutchinson covets position, sir. The personal glorification of Hutchinson.
But he did protest the Stamp Act.
A public show of protest. A political gesture only. I'll tell you, sir, for 1 perfumed shilling from the king's own hand, this elegant Thomas Hutchison of ours would sell the honor of the entire state of Massachusetts.
Hutchinson's arrogance is unbearable.
Here, yes, but not in London. He struts through our streets, but he crawls before the king. In these times, there are only 2 causes. No man can bestride them both. The colony's freedom or the king's tyranny.
Mr. Adams, about your cousin.
John is an honest man.
However, as a barrister, he has at different times appeared in the Boston courts, sometimes pleading cases for the colonies, sometimes pleading cases for the crown, has he not?
He has, and both with equal skill. You see, John and I look at things through different eyes. The Occasionally, I think his vision is too limited, as he must think mine is too broad. John will fight for the right wherever he thinks he sees it. He'd plead for Satan himself in the court of heaven if he thought the cause was right.
Downborn, turn out. Downborn.
There it is. Yes? It's beginning.
What's beginning, Mr. Adams?
Who knows?
Mr. Adams, did the Sons of Liberty plan any organized resistance to the soldiers?
This is not rebellion.
Sir, your cousin John Adams says this activity in Boston tonight is dreadful in its significance and implications.
It is.
Well, whoever's behind it must certainly realize the weight of that responsibility.
Free men are responsible for these demonstrations, sir. Freedom is always a heavy responsibility.
You're going to have trouble with the Sons of Liberty.
Dick Joy has moved to a new position on King Street near the Custom House. Come in, Dick Joy.
This is Dick Joy. As you can see, a crowd has gathered outside the Custom House on King Street, focusing its attention on the only English soldier in sight, the man inside that sentry box.
Come on, show your face. Come on out, What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of?
One thing is certain. Although no other soldiers are in sight, this spectacle is being observed from Murray's barracks across the way, where a detachment of British troops is quartered. Cleet Roberts is now set up in Murray's barracks. We take you to Cleet Roberts.
This is Cleet Roberts. The small detachment of the main guard quartered here is under the command of the officer you see standing in the background, Captain Preston.
Away from the window, all the Billings. Yes, sir. That away, come on.
Pressing the sentry box closer, sir. Throwing rubbish and stuff. If I was Montgomery in there, I'd show my...
Billings. Report only what you see.
There you are. Snowballs at him, and still he won't fire.
Montgomery won't fire, and neither will any of you if we go out there.
If we go out, sir?
I said if.
Then, Preston, we can't stand at a window watching a soldier of the king torn into bits by a mob of stinking mohairs. God save us, why the...
Billings!
Sorry, sir.
Keep a sharp eye out there, Billings. We go out when the first rider lays a hand on the sentry. Fix bayonets.
Yes, sir.
Listen to me. All of you. No man under any circumstances will fire into the mob. Is that clear?
Captain Preston, sir.
You hear your orders, Billings?
Yes, sir.
You want to help Montgomery? Get back to your window.
Yes, sir. Captain, sir. The mob's moving in on him.
Formulac.
We take you back to Dick Joy at the Custom House. This is Dick Joy again. Don't think any further comment from me is necessary.
God save us, Captain Preston.
Yes, Billings. God save us.
March 5th, 1770, the Boston Massacre. A night, as John Adams said, dreadful in its significance and implications. For American blood was shed that night. And the Sons of Liberty saw it, and hundreds strong, they surged back into Boston Square, where 5 men lay in the snow before the Custom House. 4 of the men were dead, the 5th was dying. At least 2 of the dead had names well known among the Sons of Liberty, Crispus Attucks and Sam Gray, the rope walker. Governor Hutchinson was cursed by name that night as he was led through the streets and taken into the State House and finally pushed out onto the State House balcony. He stood there looking down on the seething, roaring crowd, the angry, upturned faces. The crowd fell silent when he announced that Captain Preston would be arrested. And then the crowd's voice lifted in a great thunderous shout of approval when he promised that Captain Preston would be tried for murder. The night of the Boston Massacre, Governor Hutchinson promised the Sons of Liberty that Captain Preston would be tried in a Boston court for murder. There developed one difficulty in fulfilling the governor's promise. No one could find any Tory lawyer in town who was willing to defend Captain Preston. Finally, one young lawyer, not a Tory, said he was half willing. Young Josiah Quincy said he'd be glad to defend Captain Preston if John Adams would act with him. Sam Adams must have known his cousin John very well. He'd plead for Satan himself if he thought the cause was right. John Adams, with young Mr. Quincy, defended Captain Preston, and Captain Preston was acquitted. Nor did John Adams' reputation in the colonies suffer for defending a soldier of the king. Scarcely 6 years after the night blood was shed in the Boston Massacre, John Adams was appointed one of a committee of 5 men in Philadelphia to compose and prepare for submission to the Colonial Congress a Declaration of Independence. March 5th, 1770, the day of the Boston Massacre. What sort of a day was it? A day like all days, filled with those events that alter and illuminate our time. And you were there.
This is George Fielding Elliott, CBS News, New York. Early this morning of April 19, 1775, CBS learns that General Thomas Gage, Commander-in-Chief of the British Army here in the American colonies, has dispatched at least 800 of His Majesty's regulars from Boston to Concord. The Redcoats have been ordered to do 2 things: to seize the military supplies which the colonists have recently been storing in Concord, and to arrest Samuel Adams and John Hancock, the top leaders of the Sons of Liberty, the organization which is the spearhead of the colonial resistance movement. At this moment, the Redcoats are somewhere on the road to Concord. They left Boston by the Charles River crossing early last evening. And though General Gage...
April 19, 1775. His Majesty's regulars march on Concord. You are there.
New England. The delicate peace between the colonies and the Crown feels the force of General Gage's march on Concord. Will peace survive, or will dawn find the colonies in open rebellion? CBS takes you back 174 years to the hour Paul Revere rode. All things are as they were then, except for one thing. When CBS is there, you are there. You Are There, produced and directed by Robert Louis Cheon, is based on authentic historical fact and quotations. And now,
CBS News, New York, and Major Elliott.
To seize the military supplies the colonies have been storing there, to arrest Sam Adams and John Hancock comes as no surprise. General Gage could not possibly have afforded to wait any longer before striking a major blow at the growing colonial resistance to the Crown's authority. Not to move, and move immediately, would be to risk the effective establishment of a powerful colonial force dedicated to the ultimate destruction of King George's power in these colonies. The colonists have been protesting ever more vigorously against laws passed in England by Parliament without the consent of the colonies. They refuse any longer to be exploited economically by English merchants. Incident has piled upon incident. Violence has followed violence. The Continental Congress has crystallized political resistance. Now military resistance is crystallizing. Only recently, Patrick Henry, speaking in the Virginia House of Burgesses, said, "The next gale that sweeps from the north will bring to our ears the crash of resounding arms." Goaded by epithets of insult, General Gage, tolerant, slow-moving, sometimes called the Old Woman, has finally accepted the challenge of the resistance. As for the colonists in Concord, There is no doubt that they are determined to keep their military stores as the legal equipment of local militia. The only question is, can the fragile peace, which still exists, survive the sparks that are even now being struck by the hobnails of General Gage's grenadiers on the road to Concord? Doug Edwards is ready to report from Concord, so over to Doug Edwards.
I'm in Concord Town Square in front of Wright's Tavern. It's still dark, but there's a bright moon. There are candles in the windows, torches on the square. The citizens have been awakened. The belfry bell has roused them from their beds. They're gathering here in the square, falling in under the command of Colonel James Barrett, and hiding supplies. They've been hiding them for 3 days. Apparently, their underground has warned them that General Gage would march. Here with me at our microphone is the man who brought the news of General Gage's march to Concord. He is Dr. Samuel Prescott, a town resident, rather young for a doctor, only 20 years old. Dr. Prescott, what is your opinion? Will peace survive General Gage's expedition?
No, it can't, sir. It will be an open rebellion before morning.
Why do you say that, Doctor? Do you think there will be trouble here in Concord?
Maybe yes, maybe no. There are 21 miles between Boston and Concord. There's Roxbury Town, Bedford, Lexington, Mystic, and dozens of others. In every one of those towns, the Minutemen have been pulled out of bed and they're itching for a fight. They don't like the lobsterbacks, the lobsterbacks don't like them. That looks like trouble, or does it?
But, Dr. Prescott, there's been violence before, but no open rebellion.
Yes, but this time it's different. You don't send 800 regulars to a tea party. Gage means to fight. He'll find us ready.
You mean you'll fire on the redcoats when they appear?
We will fire on no one unless they give us cause to fire on them. We've never fired first. They've always provoked us. We mean not to attack, but always to defend our rights as Englishmen.
Dr. Prescott, would you mind telling us just how you came by the information that Gage's troops are on the march?
No, not at all. I was in Lexington last night. I went to see a young lady. As I was riding home, I met Billy Dawes and Paul Revere.
Paul Revere, that's the Boston silversmith.
That's right.
Yes, and isn't Revere also the messenger for the Provincial Congress?
I wouldn't know about that.
Who sent him out?
I haven't the faintest idea.
I don't suppose you know where Sam Adams and Hancock are either.
No, I wouldn't, sir.
Well, go on with your story. What did Paul Revere and Dawes tell you when they met you in Lexington?
No, it was outside of Lexington, on the road to Concord. I was going to ride in with them to Concord when we met 4 lobsterbacks. Cursed rebels, they called us. They said they knew we'd been rousing the militia, threatening to blow out our brains. They ordered us into a pasture. I took my chances, though. I spurred my horse over a stone wall by Folly Pond and shook them off. So did Billy. But they caught Revere, Lord help him.
Where's Dawes now?
I don't know. I'm sorry now. I can't answer any more questions. I've got to fall in with the Minutemen.
Well, thank you very much. That was Dr. Samuel Prescott, who brought the report that General Gage's troops are on their way here to Concord. You heard him say that, in his opinion, the colonies will be in open rebellion before morning. If he's correct, if rebellion does come, if the question if these local Minutemen can carry through successfully against the highly trained and well-supplied redcoats of His Majesty's forces. This Concord militia is a strange mixture of farmers, young boys, old men, and seasoned Indian fighters. None of them has a uniform. They're dressed in crude homespun pants and cotton shirts. A few wear the familiar 3-cornered hat worn in this section of the colony. But their battle gear is pathetically inadequate. Some have a powder horn slung over their shoulders and firelock muskets. A few have no weapons at all. Occasionally, some of them wander in and out of Wright's Tavern and partake generously of mugs of hot rum flip. Their women folk are helping with the stores. They're priming muskets, giving their husbands loaves of bread and salt pork, and extra pairs of warm stockings. John Daly in Lexington, 6 miles from here, has just reported that the regulars have been sighted, so over to John Daly in Lexington.
Here on the Lexington Green, in front of the Buckman Tavern, we can see His Majesty's regulars approaching on the Boston Road, about 300 yards off. The sun is coming up, and we can see them clearly, a mass of red-coated men, their officers marching on either side of the column and in front of it, too. I can't tell you yet who their commanding officer is, but it's probably Lieutenant Colonel Francis Smith, because he's led these sorties for General Gage before. The fife and drum unit is playing Yankee Doodle, and as you can hear, playing it very badly, playing it very sourly. And that, no doubt, is a deliberate insult to the colonists. It's an old trick of the English regulars. They've done it before in Boston when they marched past the meetings of the Sons of Liberty. Captain Parker's militia is almost completely assembled here on the green. Over 60 of his complement of 75 men are already here, and latecomers are quickly filling in the ranks. The Minutemen are drawn up in a double line with their muskets at their side. If the decision is up to Captain Parker, there'll be no open rebellion here at Lexington. If Captain Parker had meant to challenge His Majesty's regulars, why, he would have blocked the road to Concord. But instead, he has assembled his men here on the green, and he has given them very explicit orders not to fire unless fired upon. About 40 of the villagers, spectators, are standing about, leaning out of windows, idling in doorways, or swinging their legs on a stone wall. It hardly seems as if any of them expect trouble here. The big question now is, what will the regulars do when they march to the fork in the road that leads to Concord? If they keep right on marching to Concord, well, then there'll be no trouble here this morning. Oh, there's Paul Revere coming out of the tavern. The British captured him but released him, and he returned to Lexington only a short while ago. Mr. Revere! Mr. Revere! Sorry, no time. Mr. Revere has gone right on by. He and another man are carrying a chest, and it doesn't look as if Paul Revere thinks there's going to be any trouble. He certainly wouldn't be so calm carrying that chest across Lexington Green if he did. Well, the regulars, His Majesty's Redcoats, are almost at the fork in the road now. They're a mixture of grenadiers in their high pointed caps and light infantry. There are no field pieces, no artillery, since there was no prospect of a formal engagement when the Redcoats left their barracks. They'd hoped, as a matter of fact, to catch Concord completely by surprise, as you've probably been told. The Redcoats' ranks are orderly, bayonets gleaming in the rising sun, the officers handsome as usual with their beautifully powdered wigs and their lace cuffs. Many of the regulars we can see now, they're close up, are covered with mud from the waist down. They very evidently waded through some kind of marsh country. And, the commanding officer is not Colonel Smith. I can tell you that much. He's a younger man, a major, in fact, by his uniform, and an officer not of the Army, but of the Royal Marines. And I don't recognize him. The fights have stopped playing. The commanding officer has given the order to halt. The order is repeated down the long red line, and the major has ordered his men to prime and load. 800 Redcoats are loading their muskets. We can't tell yet if the major seriously means to fire, or if this is just a maneuver to intimidate Parker and the militia. Captain Parker hasn't moved, but some of his men are calling out. Some seem to think it's folly to stand here because they're hopelessly outnumbered, but there are others who are against breaking ranks, and that's Captain Parker talking now.
Listen to me. The first man who offers to run shall be shot down. Stand your ground. Don't fire unless fired upon. But if they mean to have a war, let it begin here.
Well, you heard Captain Parker. He told his minute. The red-coated major has ordered his men up on the green, and they're advancing on the double. Bayonets at charge. 2 platoons of 3 ranks each. Some of Captain Parker's militia have broken ranks, are running away, but most of them are still there, standing at attention, muskets at their sides. His Majesty's regulars have halted now, their guns leveled at the double line of Minutemen. The two opposing forces are face to face, rigid and resolved. That's the major. He's galloped up on the green with 2 officers. Disperse, ye rebels, he cries out, ye villains. Disperse. Captain Parker's face is drawn, his lips are tight. He hasn't answered. His men haven't moved.
Break ranks.
And that was Captain Parker. He's called out break ranks. Break ranks, ordered the Minutemen to break their ranks. But the major is ordering the dispersing militia to lay down its arms. He's not satisfied with their dispersal alone. He's shouting at the Minutemen, waving his sword angrily. Someone has fired a shot. I couldn't see where it came from. It seemed to come over from my left. It may have been one of the younger of His Majesty's officers. The redcoats have fired point blank at the militiamen. Some of Parker's men have fallen. 3 of them. There are 5 down now. The major is pointing his sword downward, trying to prevent another volley from the redcoats. He did not order the firing of that first volley. The militiamen are firing back without a command, without any order of any kind. They're firing spontaneously in anger. The major's horse has been hit. It's rearing up. The spectators are running for cover as fast as they can. The women screaming. Everything is confusion, and the green is choked with musket smoke. A redcoat has been hit, but the militia has broken completely. They're fleeing in all directions, but both sides are firing freely. However, most of the firing is coming from the redcoats. The redcoats are running after the fleeing Minutemen, firing as fast as they can climb and reload. The major is still trying to stop his men from firing and to get some semblance of order, but his men are out of hand. A Minuteman has just been bayoneted on the spot because he refused to move. Some of the regulars are now trying to break into the meeting house, and they're breaking down the door. There must be at least 6 Minutemen lying out there dead or wounded, and still more have been wounded. I don't see any of Captain Parker's men now. They've all disappeared. The redcoats are quieting down a bit. Their officers are slowly getting them back into line on the road. Some of them still firing, however, when they think they see a Colonial. The major is swearing at his men. The situation exploded in his hands. Very angry. That's him now dressing down his men. The smoke is clearing. The regulars are flushed, wild-eyed and panting. And now some of the wives of the Minutemen who were hit are running out on the green to help their husbands. I can count 8 fallen men, 8 altogether. I can't tell you whether they're dead or wounded. On the other side, except for a slight injury to the major's horse and that one wounded redcoat who now seems to have been just grazed, the redcoats have suffered no casualties. And now a redcoat, in spite of the major, has cried out hotly, 3 cheers for victory. But the major is giving the command to march. The long red column is stepping off down the road to Concord to the fife music and the drums. Evidently, the major isn't allowing this awful clash that has just taken place on Lexington Green to divert him from his main objective, the military stores in Concord, and the arrest of Sam Adams and John Hancock. The wife of one of the militiamen is running after the regulars, screaming at them, but they pay no attention to her. I'm going now to try and get a full and accurate report on the casualties, but the center of attention has shifted to Concord, so back to Doug Edwards.
This is Don Hollenbeck in New York. Come in, Doug Edwards in Concord. Go ahead, Doug Edwards. We don't know why Doug Edwards isn't answering our signal to Concord. We're trying to check. There's been an exchange of shots, as you've heard, between the Colonial Minutemen and His Majesty's regulars who are marching on Concord. CBS headquarters in Boston has been trying to get a statement from General Gage, but the general is not available for comment. However, our Boston headquarters has been able definitely to identify the major of the Royal Marines who is leading this expedition to Concord. He's Major John Pitcairn, 35. He lives in Boston, close to the house of Paul Revere. The entire contingent is under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Francis Smith. Reports continue to come in claiming that the Colonial militia in at least a dozen villages in the Boston area have been aroused and are marching toward the road between Concord and Boston. There's been no further information concerning the whereabouts of Samuel Adams and John Hancock. Both men are known, however, to be in the Boston area. We're still trying to reach Doug Edwards in Concord, and now here is Major Elliott.
The meaning of the tragedy that has happened on Lexington Green is still pretty obscure here in New York. Does this occurrence mean that there is no hope for peace? It's still much too early to decide that. The colonies are, of course, painfully familiar with other such bloody clashes that have happened in the past, and still there's been no open, organized rebellion as a result.
Unless further investigation reveals that it was a militiaman who fired that mysterious first shot, John Daly's eyewitness account would certainly seem to indicate that Captain Parker's men obeyed his order not to fire unless fired upon. The militiamen seem to have fired their muskets only in response to the concentrated volley of the regulars. However, when word of what has happened in Lexington spreads through the New England countryside and the rest of the colonies, this word will certainly pour no water on the rising flames of resistance. And now, here again is Don Hollenbeck.
Thank you, Major Elliott. Ken Robertson, Concord, is calling in from a mobile transmitter. Go ahead, Ken Roberts.
Are you getting me okay, Don?
Yes, Ken. Yes, go ahead. Where are you?
I'm on a hill outside of Concord.
Where's Doug Edwards?
He's inside the town. His Majesty's regulars have arrived. They've occupied Concord. We had transmission trouble before. That's why Edwards didn't get through. And when we were ready to report again, the regulars had moved in, taken over the town, and Lieutenant Colonel Smith had clamped down a tight censorship. I managed to get away from town in our mobile unit. I'm wearing a packed transmitter, and I'm here now with the Concord militia, overlooking the North Bridge.
What are the militia doing on the hill, Ken?
Major Buttrick of Concord is conferring with his men. There are about 400 of them now. The men of Concord have been joined by others from Chelmsford, Carlisle, Littleton, and Bedford. They're trying to decide what to do about some smoke that's curling up from the center of Concord. The men don't know what's burning, but some of them are afraid the redcoats have set their homes on fire and are trying to burn down the whole town. The only thing that's stopping them from going in immediately and finding out is the detail of redcoats down there at the North Bridge. There are 3 companies down there, all about 100 men, commanded by Captain Laurie of the 43rd Foot. That North Bridge is the only direct way back into Concord, and Captain Laurie's redcoats are blocking the way.
We're going in. Fall in, column of 2.
Well, that was Major Buttrick. He's given the command for the militia to fall in, and I think the Minutemen are going to try to cross the bridge. I don't know what Captain Laurie's orders are. I don't know whether he's been given any orders, but the big question is whether he'll let the Minutemen cross that bridge. We'll know any moment now. The Minutemen have struck up a march. I think it's the White Cockade. 2 by 2, they're approaching the bridge. I'm following the column. Major Buttrick is leading. Captain Davis, commanding the contingent from Acton, is walking at his side. All the men are walking steadily with great resolution. They're not speaking now. They're not looking to right or left. Their eyes are fastened on the regulars on the other side of the Concord River, watching the imposing mass of scarlet uniforms that sort of funnels into the entrance of the North Bridge. The regulars know the Minutemen are coming. Well, Captain Laurie has shouted a command to his men. I couldn't hear it. He's still too far away. But the redcoats have taken up the traditional street firing formation. 3 ranks, the men in the first rank kneeling, the second stooping, the third aiming muskets at eye level. It's a strange move. I don't understand it. If Captain Laurie means to start a fight, his men are jammed into the small bridge area right out in the open, and the regulars are also outnumbered 3 to 1. Captain Laurie has ordered some regulars to rip up the planks of the bridge. He's going to try to stop the Minutemen from crossing. There goes one plank, and another.
Leave the plank! This is our bridge!
That was Major Buttrick. He shouted angrily to the redcoats to desist, to leave the planks. This is our bridge, Major Buttrick screamed. And the regulars have stopped. They've stopped tearing up the planks. The Minutemen are almost at the bridge now. The redcoats are on the other side. Only about 75 feet or so of the Concord River separate the 2 groups. The Minutemen keep marching, and another 3 shots. The redcoats fired 3 shots just now, but they splashed into the water. Another shot fired by a regular. Perhaps they're warnings. The Minutemen keep moving, though. Their band keeps playing. Well, that's Captain Laurie. Regulars have been hit. The ranks have out what he plans to do. Go ahead, Don Hollenbeck in New York.
We have more news here. Heavy reinforcements of His Majesty's regulars have left Boston for Concord. Almost 1,000 troops under Lord Percy are moving along the road to Lexington. It's believed the request for those additional troops came by courier from Colonel Smith and now Major Elliott.
1,000 fresh regulars on their way to Concord, and the road swarming with newly arriving militia. These are fast-moving developments, and they are certainly ominous. Can Lord Percy get past Lexington without a clash? And what are his orders? Are they merely to help Colonel Smith accomplish his original objective? Or has General Gage suddenly decided on stern measures against the gathering colony? The situation certainly is growing worse with every passing moment. It seems sure that neither Minuteman nor regular wants war. And yet it seems that both are being forced into war by the dynamics of the struggle. Now, just a moment. Doug Edwards in Concord reports that Colonel Smith and his men have left Concord, heading back for Boston. Edwards is able to broadcast again, so come in, Doug Edwards.
The situation in Concord has been relieved for the moment at least, but no one is sure exactly what's happened. The last of His Majesty's regulars that occupied the town has left. Whether it's for good, we don't know, but they've left without any further bloodshed. So far, no arrests, no incidents after that one at North Bridge. All Redcoat details are rejoining the main body of troops, and then they began their march back to Boston again by way of Lexington. It seems strange that Colonel Smith and Major Pitcairn attempted no retaliation for what happened at the North Bridge. The search for military stores proved fruitless, rather embarrassing to the Redcoats. They seized a few barrels of flour, rolled them into the mill pond. They found some musket balls, threw them into the water too. Also, they spiked a few small cannon and burned their carriages. That was the smoke seen by Major Buttrick and his men. The townfolk here are milling about around the tavern, asking the big question, has Colonel Smith left for good, or does he intend to meet Lord Percy and return? The answer to that question is going to come soon enough, but even before Colonel Smith and Lord Percy meet, His Majesty's Redcoats, who have just left Concord, must pass through an area alive with angry, suspicious, nervous militiamen, their fingers itching on the triggers of their muskets. Can Colonel Smith run that gauntlet without trouble? We'll find that out in a matter of moments. John Daly, in a mobile unit, has now moved up from Lexington. He is now at an intersection on the road a mile from here called Merriam's Corner. The regulars are approaching, so over to John Daly.
We pulled into a cluster of trees overlooking the road from Concord. This place is known as Merriam's Corner because a local farmer by that name has his house here. The thousands of Minutemen who were awakened by Paul Revere and William Dawes and all the other messengers who spread the alarm are strung out on both sides of the road all the way to Lexington and possibly beyond. They're unorganized, they have no officers, but they've got plenty of muskets and powder. They're all keeping out of sight, crouching behind barns and rocks, standing behind trees and stone walls, and now and then you can spot a head bobbing out. But wherever they are, every Minuteman is watching that great cloud of dust approaching Merriam's Corner from Concord, the dust thrown up by His Majesty's regulars. The advance units of the regulars are in sight. They seem to be tired. No fife and drum plays them on. There's no music. They're carrying their wounded in chaises along the center of the road. Some of the infantry walk up on a ridge which slopes down and joins the main road here at Merriam's Corner. The Redcoats are passing us now, moving into the ambush of Minutemen hidden on both sides of the road. The Redcoats must know that the Minutemen are here, watching them, for they seem to be uneasy, uncertain of themselves. This is a tense moment which will decide if there's going to be another tragic clash here at Merriam's Corner. Nothing has happened yet, however, and the regulars are deep. One of the Minutemen has fired at the Redcoats. The musket was fired from a rock or tree to my right. The Redcoats are firing back, and from behind trees and rocks, the militia have opened up. Flashes of musket fire, clouds of smoke are popping all around me from both sides of the road. Every tree, every rock, every wall has suddenly come alive. The Redcoats are falling. His Majesty's Redcoats are falling, but they keep on marching because it's the only thing they can do.
gentlemen, here at Merriman's Corner.
April 19, 1775. The Minutemen fire first at Merriam's Corner, and open rebellion begins.
This is John Daly at the State House in Philadelphia. A powerful opponent of the Declaration of Independence has emerged here on this fourth evening of July 1776. An opponent strong enough to rally the latent opposition to separation from the mother country. Mr. John Dickinson, Pennsylvania's leading delegate to the Continental Congress, has just told reporters that he intends to speak on the floor before the final vote is taken. This in a supreme effort to block this declaration, which would commit our 13 colonies to revolutionary war with England. Mr. Dickinson agreed that he is staking his political future on the outcome of the vote. He anticipates that if he fails to block passage of the Declaration of Independence, he will be ejected from the Congress and be
July 4th, 1776, the State House in Philadelphia. You are there.
John Dickinson, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson. CBS takes you back to the evening when the colonial leaders fought their showdown battle on the issue of independence from England, with the fate of a continent hanging in the balance. All things are as they were then, except for one thing. When CBS is there, you are there. You Are There is based on authentic historical fact and quotation. And now,
July 4th, 1776, the Philadelphia State House and John Daly.
Dining during the recess, which is now officially over. We hurried from the inn to this microphone here on the floor of the Congress to bring you this news. Mr. Dickinson has not arrived yet. He should be along at any minute, but meanwhile, the news has preceded him, and it's having an explosive effect on the delegates who are present. As a matter of fact, the weather isn't helping things either. It's very hot here in Philadelphia tonight, and in their heavy waistcoats, ruffles, and wigs, the delegates in the hall are perspiring profusely. Even more irritating are the horse flies from a nearby stable which come in through the open windows. These flies are nasty, so much so that Mr. Thomas Jefferson of Virginia, the author of the Declaration, has said that it is not at all unlikely that this debate will be ended not by sharp logic of the delegates, but by the even sharper bite of the horseflies. Major George Fielding Eliot has been talking to the delegates and is now ready with his analysis of the possibilities inherent in Mr. Dickinson's announcement. So I switch you now to our CBS headquarters booth here in the Congress. Come in, Major Eliot.
Mr. Dickinson's views carry great weight here. His announcement therefore comes as a shock to those delegates who want the Declaration of Independence passed. Mr. John Adams from the Massachusetts Bay Colony, leader of the Independence Party, had hoped the Declaration would go through unanimously, but that's no longer possible. Indeed, the Declaration may not even pass. Mr. Adams and Mr. Dickinson personify the present political conflict. Mr. Adams is the son of a Massachusetts lawyer. He was educated for the law in New England. He agrees with the men who dumped the East India Company's tea into Boston Harbor. Although Mr. Adams prides himself on being a plain man, the delegates regard him as arrogant and intolerant of all who differ with his views. Mr. Dickinson, on the other hand, was born to wealth. He received his education at London's Middle Temple. He has a mild, amiable, sincere manner. He opposes independence because of his conviction that all political injustices can be righted by legal methods without recourse to violence or revolution. Just a moment. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson have entered the hall. So, back to John Daly.
Mr. Jefferson! Mr. Jefferson!
Yes?
Mr. Jefferson, you've heard the news that Mr. Dickinson will speak against independence. May we have your comment?
I have the greatest respect for Mr. Dickinson's courage and integrity. Mr. Adams and I wish we could say as much for his political judgment.
This Congress, sir, is in no mood for any more of Mr. Dickinson's temporizing. In the course of this debate, the delegates have learned to know Mr. Dickinson for what he is. A spineless aristocrat at best, at worst an agent of the enemy.
Well, Mr. Adams, we're very glad to have your comment also. Are you accusing Mr. Dickinson of being in the pay of the British?
I hardly think Mr. Adams
if you
intended
please, Mr. Jefferson. Sir, Mr. Dickinson has consistently sabotaged the work of this body by fallacious appeals to reason and by parliamentary devices, but no more of that. The Declaration of Independence will be put to a vote as soon as President Hancock arrives and calls this meeting to order. And I am confident that the gentleman will be unable to sway the Congress from the course on which it is now well launched.
Thank you, Mr. Adams and Mr. Jefferson. The delegates are taking their seats. And as you must have gathered from Mr. Adams' remarks, the long smoldering enmity between him and Mr. Dickinson has finally flared out into the open. The debate, when he and Dickinson clash on the floor, promises to be more violent than any this Congress has heard in the 2 years since it's been in existence. Mr. Dickinson has just entered the hall, and he has to pass our microphone. He's coming this way now. Mr. Dickinson, sir.
Yes,
Mr. Dickinson. Mr. John Adams has just called you an agent of the enemy, Mr. Dickinson. Would you care to make...
Mr. Adams considers anyone who differs with him to be an agent of the enemy. But I cannot allow myself to be silenced by insults. The question is, shall our colonies declare themselves independent of the mother country? And on this question, my opponents have been utterly dishonest.
Will you explain that, Mr. Dickinson?
Certainly will. 11 times in the past 2 years, Congress pledged itself not to seek independence. In January of this year, only 6 months ago, the Congress passed a most solemn declaration to the effect that we Americans have no thought of setting up an independent nation. And now, tonight, Mr. Adams asks us to break our pledged word. Nay, he demands it.
But if the people favor independence, Mr. Dickinson,
Mr. Adams has confused the people. He has engineered coup d'etats in the provincial legislatures in order to pack this Congress with delegates favoring independence. He has organized gangs of hoodlums to roam the streets of the cities and towns, attacking those who oppose revolution.
But isn't it true, Mr. Dickinson, that at least 50% of the population favors independence?
Is it right for one half of the population to impose its views on the other half by terror? Can these colonies hope to achieve victory in a revolutionary war when half of the people oppose it? I predict that if the Congress passes the Declaration of Independence, the result will be civil war, useless bloodshed, and ruinous defeat. True. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Dickinson. The delegate from Pennsylvania is walking to his seat now. Mr. John Hancock, the president of the Congress, has entered the chamber, but it will very probably be a few moments yet before he calls the Congress to order. Mr. Dickinson said that a considerable portion of the people are opposed to independence. Well, Ken Roberts is outside the State House, where a representative crowd of Philadelphians are awaiting the result of the vote. So let's find out what they think about independence. Go ahead, Ken Roberts.
With me at our CBS microphone is Mrs. Agnes Hatcher, who lives on Water Street. Mrs. Hatcher, do you favor separation from England?
I hate separation. My husband was killed fighting for separation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's John Adams that should be sorry, and Mr. Jefferson. Why don't they make peace and end this killing?
But, Mrs. Hatcher, would you want peace at any price?
Will you tell me why my husband should die at Boston fighting the Bay Colonies battles? If the men of New England have a quarrel with the British, let them do the fighting and dying themselves.
But Mr. Adams and Mr. Jefferson say they want freedom for all the colonies.
I don't care about freedom. My husband is dead.
Thank you, Mrs. Hatcher. Now, here beside me is Mr. Richard Caswell, an importer in Philadelphia. I forgot to ask you, Mr. Caswell, what do you import?
The finest of English woolens, sir. The very finest.
I see. And do you favor independence? Excuse me, Mr. Caswell. A dispatch rider has just ridden up to the State House. His horse is lathered and covered with dust and sweat. It looks as if he's been ridden long and hard. Where are you from, soldier?
New York. General Washington's headquarters.
What's the news there? What's happening?
Plenty of excitement.
Wait a minute. What's going on? The rider has gone into the State House. Whatever the news is, our reporters inside will bring it to you as soon as it's released. I'm sorry about that interruption, Mr. Caswell.
Quite all right, quite all right.
You were about to tell me whether you favored independence.
It's an illusion, sir. Independent from what? How can we be independent? We're Englishmen, my family's English, they're all in England. Or my trade, my business is with England. Look at my books, you see. This talk about separation is ridiculous. Worse than ridiculous. It's vicious. It's ruining me. Ever since this war started, no shipments. Percentages, 76% less business than my firm did in 75.
But, Mr. Caswell, isn't it argued that if the colonies were independent, American businessmen could then trade with the entire world?
Who wants to trade with the entire world? What do we need the world for? Everything we can produce, we can sell in England. And everything that we need, we can buy from England. It's just common sense, that's all. How do you suppose the colonies have grown prosperous and strong and important? Protected trade with England. Protected trade.
Yes, but what about the heavy taxes that the mother country has imposed? What about taxation without representation?
Bad, very bad. But independence, worse, much worse, terrible. What about Pitt and Burke in Parliament? We have friends in England. They're trying to settle this thing intelligently, without violence, without bloodshed. But Mr. Adams and Jefferson, those wild men in there, hotheads, radicals, that's what they are. They want to get power, that's all, power. That's all they're interested in, power.
Well, Mr. Caswell, independence is
Independence, the word second. Listen to him. We've already become independent of principle and gratitude to the mother country.
What's he saying?
And if this war is permitted to continue, we shall become independent of cash, clothing, laws, liberty, and... Yes, life itself.
What are you talking about?
You're a liar, that's what you are, mister. You're a Tory. I'm telling the truth. It may not be popular, but it's the truth.
Shut up, you Tory, or we'll teach you a lesson.
I'm not afraid of you. Listen, close your mouth.
Mr. Caswell has just been struck by some man who's been heckling him. The crowd here is manhandling Mr. Caswell. The men are flailing at him with their fists. They must be members of the Sons of Liberty. The women are tearing at Mr. Caswell's clothes, spitting at him. This crowd has gone wild, and it's frightening. Mr. Caswell has been knocked to the ground. I can't see him, but I can hear his cries. The men are bending over him, swinging their fists, pounding.
This is John Daly inside the Continental Congress. We have interrupted Ken Roberts because President Hancock has just called the Congress to order. He's about to read the dispatch which has just arrived from General Washington's headquarters in New York. President Hancock.
This is the information contained in General Washington's dispatch. The news is grim indeed. A great British fleet is at this moment in New York Harbor. British Marines have seized Staten Island in the harbor, and redcoats are landing there by the thousands. General Washington advises that a British attack on New York City must be expected momentarily. The enemy appears to have overwhelming superiority in numbers and equipment. General Washington concludes with a statement that it may be impossible to defend New York City with the slender forces at his command. Gentlemen, the Congress will recess for 5 minutes.
Congress has again recessed. The sound of President Hancock's gavel has released a torrent of excitement and confusion bordering virtually on panic. Delegates have risen from their seats. They are moving about the floor, talking to each other in loud voices, often shouting in their arguments. Mr. John Adams and Mr. Thomas Jefferson have rushed up to the chair. Mr. Adams is pale, agitated. Only Mr. Dickinson, of all the delegates here in the chamber, has remained seated. Mr. Rutledge. Just a moment, sir. Here's Mr. Edward Rutledge, a delegate from South Carolina. Sir, what effect do you think the news of the British arrival will have on the independence vote?
It cannot fail to have a profound effect. It will add force and logic to Mr. Dickinson's position.
Thank you, Mr. Rutledge. Mr. Rutledge is one of Mr. Dickinson's supporters. Here is Mr. Elbridge Gerry, a delegate from the Massachusetts Bay Colony and an independence man. Mr. Gerry, what do you think of the announcement, sir?
Frankly, I don't know what to think. Mr. Dickinson may well argue now that the Declaration of Independence may not be worth the paper it's written on. But we must keep our head. We must stand.
Thank you, Mr. Gerry. Major Elliott has more news from New York, so let's switch to him in our CBS headquarters booth. Come in, Major Elliott.
We now know that the British fleet numbers 130 vessels. The troops on board are commanded by General Sir William Howe, one of England's ablest generals. The appearance of the fleet has thrown New York into disorderly confusion, and the legislature has withdrawn for safety to White Plains, 35 miles away. Our New York newsroom informs us that a short while ago, CBS correspondent Ned Kelmer passed through the British lines on Staten Island under safe conduct to interview the British commander-in-chief. He made a tape recording of this interview that our New York newsroom will play for you now.
This is the kitchen of a Staten Island farmhouse which now serves as General Howe's headquarters. A regiment of redcoats is on parade outside, marching to the music of a British military band. I can see them through an open window from where I'm standing. In their tight-fitting scarlet coats and long gaiters, these trim soldiers in perfect step to the music look like the veteran fighting men that they are. General Howe, sir, will you tell us how many such troops you have at your disposal?
14,000 on this island, and an additional 13,000 under General Carleton on their way across Lake Champlain in upper New York.
You don't mind giving General Washington this information?
Not at all, not at all. Frankly, I doubt very much that it will make any difference if Washington knows it.
I take it then, General Howe, that you're completely confident of victory.
Naturally. Those men you see out there, they are the conquerors of France and Spain. They're the finest troops in the world. They'll crush Washington's colonial militiamen at the very first encounter, utterly. But Washington, poor fellow, he's leading nothing but a rabble. They lack powder, guns. His officers are without experience. Washington himself is hardly what you might call, shall we say, a professional military man.
General Washington, sir, made quite a good showing in the war against the French.
Under English commanders, Mr. Calmer.
Chalmer.
Under English commanders. Mr. Calmer?
Chalmer. General Howe, you know, of course, that the Continental Congress is about to vote on independence from England. Would you care to comment on that, sir?
Yes, I would like to say something to that. I would like to say it as a friend and not as a soldier. I repeat, as a friend, because I think I have amply demonstrated my friendship for British America in the past, by word and deed.
Yes, if I recall correctly, General Howe, you once stated publicly that you would never lead British troops against British America.
Of course, but the situation has changed. The colonies are now being led by a pack of extremists. This rebellion by the mob must be crushed, and I have the forces with which to crush it. The greatest fleet and the most powerful force of soldiers ever assembled on American soil. I hope with all my heart that it will not be necessary to throw this array of military power into action. I pray that the counsel of the extremists will be rejected by the Continental Congress and that the advice of saner, more moderate men will prevail.
Thank you, General Howe.
This is George Fielding Elliott in Philadelphia. The interview you have just heard was a tape recording made by Ned Chalmer at British headquarters on Staten Island. The recess here in the Continental Congress continues. The delegates are confused, shaken. Mr. Adams, Mr. Jefferson, and Mr. Benjamin Franklin, the leaders of the Independent Party, are doing all they can to counteract the doubt and hesitation inspired by the news from New York. They are trying desperately to maintain their strength, to keep their pledged votes in line, and they are insisting that the final vote be taken tonight without regard for the situation in New York. On the other hand, a group of less militant delegates is urging postponement until we have more definite information from General Washington's headquarters. The commander-in-chief said in his dispatch that he fears that he may not be able to hold New York. The cautious delegates want to know for sure whether he will fight or surrender the city without a struggle. Our CBS correspondent, Bud Collier, is now at General Washington's headquarters. He may have some last-minute information. Therefore, we take you now to General Washington's headquarters in New York. Bud Collier reporting.
I'm waiting here on the parade ground before General Washington's headquarters. The commander-in-chief has promised to answer my question as soon as he comes out to address his troops, presumably to make some formal statement about the news of the British arrival. The bugles are blowing assembly. The men of the regiments are running to join their formations. I can see the flag of the 1st Massachusetts, I believe it is, the Virginia Rifles, the 5th Connecticut, and many others. But in all this mass of thousands of men, I see very few men in uniform. Most of the troops are dressed in civilian homespun, and quite a few of them wear the fringed leather shirts which mark them as frontiersmen. General Washington has still not come out on the parade ground. Oh, here's a militiaman coming by. Soldier!
Let me go. I got pulled.
Just a few questions. You've got plenty of time. What's your name, son?
Tom Summers. Look, let me go, will you, mister? The sergeant will give me
That's all right. I'll fix it with General Washington for you. How old are you, Tom?
17.
Ever seen any action against the British?
No, not yet.
Well, you'll probably see action soon right here in New York.
Well, I ain't afraid if that's what you mean.
How long have you been in the Army, Tom?
2 months. Look, please, mister, ask me all your questions at once.
All right, Tom, sure. How long are you in for?
Well, I'm going back home next month. That's when my about 3 months are up.
Oh?
My pa enlisted me. He wanted to make himself $10.
I see.
Well, he got his $10, and I'm going home next month.
Uh-huh.
Oh, there ain't nothing wrong with that, you know.
No.
Some fellas enlisted for the money and then deserted without even serving their 3 months.
Well, yes, but what about independence, Tom? How do you feel about independence?
Well, I don't know nothing about that, honest, mister. Oh, there's the general. I gotta go.
General Washington is approaching the microphone. He wears his full dress uniform. His sword flaps against the side of his leg as he walks. General Washington, are you going to fight for New York?
It is a difficult question. Frankly, I haven't made up my mind.
If you elect to fight, General Washington, do you think you will be able to defend New York successfully?
I will do my best, and God willing, we shall be successful. In any event, I would like to say to all the people, do not yield to panic.
But, General, in view of the current situation, do you think the Declaration of Independence should be passed at this time?
That must be decided by the Congress in Philadelphia.
Thank you, General Washington. Commander-in-Chief is walking away across the field now. His shoulders slightly bent, his jaw thrust forward in the manner of a man who bears an enormous responsibility for which he is ill-prepared. This is Bud Collier in New York. I return you now to the Continental Congress in Philadelphia.
This is John Daly at the Continental Congress in Philadelphia. This is the long-awaited climax of the debate on the Declaration of Independence. The Congress has reconvened, and because Mr. Dickinson asked to speak against the Declaration, Mr. Adams has also requested the floor. By agreement, the vote will take place when the two speakers have finished. Also, by agreement, before the session began, Mr. Adams is speaking first. He's exerting his utmost efforts to keep the votes pledged to independence from bolting to Mr. Dickinson. Will he succeed? Well, we'll only know when the vote is taken. And now let's listen to Mr. Adams.
By proclaiming a Declaration of Independence, gentlemen, this Congress will be giving official recognition to a fact which already exists, namely that these colonies are actually, in fact, independent of England. Yet some great brains counsel us to wait, to exercise caution. Do these cautious gentlemen plead for a postponement of a Declaration of Independence so that their Tory friends may have time to hatch plots and conspiracies against us? Gentlemen, to delay is to play into the hands of the enemy, defeating the cause for which so much blood has already been shed. There must be no further delay. The people are ready. The people wait for the Congress to lead them. The hour has struck. The Congress must proceed now to a vote, an affirmative vote, on the Declaration of Independence.
Mr. Adams has left the rostrum. Mr. Dickinson is coming up to speak. Dickinson's face is pale. His fists are clenched. He's clearly marshaling all of his strength for a supreme effort of oratory. He's waiting now for the Congress to come to order. Mr. Dickinson.
Mr. President, I accuse my opponents of cynicism. They cannot believe that these colonies will be able to endure as independent states. Their true goal is not independence. They exploit indignation against the mother country to further their own personal fortune. Mr. President, my opponents make their appeal to the emotions. I make my appeal to intelligence and logic. Mr. President, British troops are on Staten Island in overwhelming force. They are about to attack New York. General Washington's task will be difficult at best, but a Declaration of Independence now will serve only to divide the people of New York and make the defense of that city hopeless. Pass the Declaration and you will set brother against brother, father against son, The colonies will become not only the scene of warfare with a mother country, but civil war as well. And in the bloody, senseless, fratricidal struggle, there is no possibility of success. Proclaim independence this evening, gentlemen, and you gain nothing. You merely invite the whirlwind of destruction. I urge you to vote against it. I beg, I plead, I beseech you, vote against independence.
Mr. Dickinson's plea has been received without applause. The delegates are calling the question, and there seems to be no objection. Oh, but wait a minute. Several of the delegates have risen. However, they're not going to ask for the floor. These delegates are leaving the hall. 4, 5. There go 3 more. Others are leaving also, and I can recognize some of them as men who have been openly undecided. Apparently, they're unwilling to vote, caught on the horns of a dilemma, swayed, no doubt, both by Mr. Adams and Mr. Dickinson. This is a great, a fearful moment of decision. Some of these men are apparently not capable of facing up to it. President Hancock.
Embodying the Declaration of Independence. The vote will be by colonies, each colony voting as a unit. A majority will decide. The clerk will call the roll.
12 votes will be cast. New York has decided to abstain. Thus, 7 votes will carry the issue.
New Hampshire, Mr. Josiah Bartlett. New Hampshire votes unanimously for independence. Massachusetts, Mr. John Adams. The patriots of Massachusetts vote unanimously for independence. Rhode Island, Mr. William Ellery. Independence. Connecticut, Mr. Roger Sherman. Independence, unanimous. New Jersey, the Reverend Dr. Witherspoon.
Mr. President, in my judgment, the country is not only ripe for independence, but is in danger of becoming rotten for want of it. New Jersey votes unanimously for independence.
Pennsylvania, Mr. Benjamin Franklin.
The majority of the delegation from Pennsylvania votes for separation from England, so help us God.
Delaware, Mr. Caesar Rodney. Delaware votes unanimously for independence.
The Declaration of Independence is passed. Delaware has cast the deciding vote. There is no reaction from the delegates, and the voting continues. It will very probably be unanimous by colonies. Many of the individual delegates are shaking their heads. However, no matter what may be said against the Declaration, this document is impressive. It reads well. It begins, when in the course of human events, change is necessary, and then continues, and I quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness."
July 4th,
these rights,
1776. John Dickinson loses his fight to block the Declaration of Independence, and the 13 colonies go forward to establish the United States of America.
December 25th, 1776. Washington crosses the Delaware. You are there.
Walter Cronkite reporting, December 25th, 1776. 6 months ago, the American colonies proclaimed their freedom from British rule with the signing of the Declaration of Independence. But today, freedom for America appears to be a lost cause. Our revolutionary forces, under the command of General George Washington, have suffered an unbroken series of defeats and disasters. New York has been abandoned to the British. With the loss of Fort Washington and Fort Lee, the Hudson is open to the enemy as far as the Highlands, and the Redcoats are pillaging New Jersey. Only by retreating in haste through that state and commandeering every boat in the vicinity to cross the Delaware River into Pennsylvania has Washington's army found temporary refuge from the enemy onslaught. On this Christmas Day, 1776, gloom and despair fill the heart of every American patriot. With freezing weather descending on eastern Pennsylvania and the ice forming fast on the Delaware, the British are expected at any time to cross the frozen river and launch their attack on Philadelphia, the congressional seat of our new nation. Last week, with little confidence in the Army and much criticism of its commander-in-chief, Congress moved its headquarters out of the path of the enemy to the comparative safety of Baltimore, while Washington distributed among the ragged remnants of his defeated army a printed pamphlet bearing these words written by the American patriot Tom Paine: "These are the times that try men's souls." We take you now to Newton, Pennsylvania, where General Washington has set up his headquarters. All things are as they were then, except you are there.
This is Todd Hunter at Washington's headquarters in Pennsylvania. The general is not here. He rode yesterday to confer with his senior officers at Major General Greene's Newton headquarters. We're told that General Washington was to be described at this time as being much depressed. He's reported to be lamenting the ragged and dissolving state of his army in affecting terms, and well he might. In less than a week, when his soldiers' short enlistment terms are up, Washington will be left with an army of but 1,500 men.
Another week. You know where I'll be. I'll be there as well. A week's none too soon. Many more days and I'd be laid under by this weather, gnawing at the marrow of my bones. You know, I'm not so sure I wouldn't rather be skewered on the end of a Hessian bayonet than to sit out this winter with Washington. My missus is holding off Christmas, waiting to celebrate it with me. What little there'll be to celebrate. Knowing I've seen the last of this man's army is enough for me to celebrate. Still, Christmas should be a time of peace on Earth. That's right. It's also the day Santa Claus comes down your chimney, wearing a red coat.
While we're waiting for Washington's meeting with his officers, we'll switch you to Dick Joy in Baltimore, where Congress has fled in anticipation of the British attack on Philadelphia. Come in, Dick Joy.
This is Dick Joy in Baltimore, where the Continental Congress has been meeting in secret sessions for the past 2 weeks. As this is Christmas Day, Mr. John Adams, distinguished member of the congressional body, has been invited here for Christmas dinner. The young man speaking to Mr. Adams is one of many such young men who, though unwilling to join the Army, are quick to criticize Washington's command. Congressman Adams, you have said that there is strong criticism of Washington in Congress.
Some were jealous of his commission and have been critical from the start. And now, since his surrender of New York and loss of Fort Washington, his critics clamor that he is an inadequate commander. Indeed, they claim that we are losing the war because General Washington is indecisive.
What opinion, sir, do you hold of General Washington?
It was I who most strongly urged the commission of Washington as commander-in-chief. I said then that this Virginia gentleman's skill and experience as an officer and his excellent universal character would command the approbation of all America and unite the cordial exertions of all the colonies better than any other person in the Union. But
Sir, have you any answer to this charge that he's indecisive?
Sir, when we assigned Washington to his tremendous task, we granted him leave to journey first to Mount Vernon to enjoy the pleasantries of home for a few days before assuming his command. Instead, Washington left Philadelphia at once and rode immediately to Massachusetts and the war. Does such a man seem to you indecisive? But I believe you were right, my dear.
Now to Todd Hunter at Washington's
This is no time to
headquarters.
talk of the war.
Todd Hunter reporting once more from Washington's headquarters. The man who has just entered is Colonel Tench Tillman, General Washington's chief aide. Perhaps he, more than any other man, could best answer Washington's critics. Well, the man sitting at the desk is Colonel Harrison.
Merry Christmas, Colonel Harrison. Same to you, Colonel Tillman. However, I defy you to tell me what's merry about it.
Well, the enemy's still in New Jersey. We're in Pennsylvania. And the Delaware hasn't frozen over yet.
If this weather keeps up, the British will be able to skate across the river by morning.
It's the general that'll be across the river by morning. He's issued the orders this Christmas Day. We're going to surprise the Hessians at Trenton. He's left Newton. He's headed for a house at McConkey's Ferry. I'm to ride there and join him.
Colonel Tillman, This is exciting news. If General Washington meets with any degree of success in such an undertaking as this, it should certainly silence his critics.
I hope, sir, that you will hold what you've just heard in the strictest confidence.
I understand, sir.
Now, what were you saying?
That this maneuver should silence his critics.
Critics are never easily silenced.
Well, you know, of course, that Washington has become the subject of much adverse comment. His very ability to command is being questioned.
I'm sure the harshest critic of Washington is Washington himself.
The loss of Fort Washington seems to be the strongest issue. It's generally considered to have been a grave tactical error.
To leave a fort to the mercy of the enemy? The loss of a whole garrison of munitions? And nearly 3,000 men? That is indeed a damned grave tactical error, sir. Is Washington wholly to blame? Indeed. Is he to blame at all? Congress ordered him to hold that fort. Keep New York to the very last. That same Congress that has just skedaddled off to Baltimore to keep its own skirts clean. So, when this is all over, the issue has been decided one way or the other. Whatever they say about Washington, excuse me, sir, I know this. It has not been an easy command.
That's right, sir. Let me tell you one story. Shortly after Washington took command of the army besieging Boston, he learned of the miscount of the powder barrels. He found that the total, instead of 485, as he'd been led to expect, was but 38. Said he was so struck he did not utter a word for fully half an hour. I ask you this. How can a general show himself to best advantage at the head of an army that's never been properly equipped?
That is, if you can call it an army. Now, the general has been arguing for a long time, but in vain, that enlistments of 3 to 6 months is not enough to maintain or man an army during wartime. Why, right in the middle of a campaign, his men will turn on their heels and run for home.
Officers as well. Employing any excuse they choose as reason enough to put their uniforms away in mothballs, while the enemy is marching right up to that very front door.
And then there's this business of Lee. I think it commends the general's character, the way he's handled that.
If I were Washington, a great deal would be made of it. General Lee's disobedience of orders and neglect of duty are mounted to treachery. You've heard, I'm certain, that General Charles Lee was recently taken prisoner by the British. But have you heard...
General Harrison.
Yes. But have you heard that he persistently ignored Washington's command to bring his troops here to fortify our ranks before the British attack?
I'll take this with me when I go to Washington.
Very good. Not only did Lee neglect the order, but he ignored his troops and blundered into the hands of the enemy. And this officer thought himself better qualified than Washington to be commander-in-chief.
And there's no one more qualified than Washington. Maybe one day history will see that. Thank you, gentlemen. We will attempt to bring you a first-hand report from McConkey's Ferry and, if possible, an interview with General Washington. But first, Grant Holcomb is with the British command in their winter quarters at New York. Come in, Grant Holcomb. Can you hear me, Grant Holcomb? If you can hear me, come in, Grant Holcomb.
This is Holcomb. We've had a little trouble up here with our signal, Todd, but I'm sure it's all right now.
To the continued success of your campaign, General.
The two gentlemen wishing each other well are the brothers, Sir William Howe, General of His Majesty's Army, and Lord Richard Howe, Admiral of His Majesty's Navy. As you can see, they're immersed in the friendly spirit of the Christmas holiday.
And well we can afford to be, sir. The rebels have just about had their lesson.
I'm told Washington's army stands ready to defend Philadelphia.
Such a disheveled, disorderly bunch of hooligans. You cannot be called an army. And as for Philadelphia, it's already in our hands.
Virtually.
The most of its citizens have already packed their belongings and evacuated the city. The Continental Congress right along with them. Many of those who remain are loyal Tories ready to rise and join us the moment we strike.
And when will that be, General?
Washington's determined it'll be when the Delaware freezes over. Perhaps.
Oh, there's no hurry. Philadelphia isn't likely to move, nor is General Washington.
Philadelphia will be in our hands in a matter of days, if we wish it to be. Meanwhile, it's very pleasant here with the Hessians in Trenton, ready to say boo to the rebels if they're foolish enough to ask for it.
Another holiday toast, William?
Shall we say a Merry Christmas to General Washington? Poor fellow.
On behalf of His Majesty.
Thank you. This is all from here at this time. We now switch you to Cleet Roberts.
This is Cleet Roberts at McConkey's Ferry. This morning, General Washington issued the order that at sundown today, his troops were to assemble at this point to cross the Delaware River and engage in a surprise attack on the enemy troops at Trenton. General Washington, this is certainly a most daring plan of attack against what seem insurmountable difficulties. The weather alone, ice has begun to form on the river.
Are you acquainted, sir, with Colonel Glover's amphibious regiment?
It is comprised of the Massachusetts fishermen from Marblehead,
who were deprived of their very livelihood by the British government when it prohibited Americans from fishing off the Grand Banks. They are fighting a personal battle for liberty. It is they who miraculously transported my troops to safety under the very noses of the British after our sorry defeat at Long Island. Glover will get us across the Delaware tonight, if it can be done.
Cross the river with horses and cannon?
Young Colonel Knox will supervise the loading of the artillery. You will remember when we were in need of artillery at Boston, it was Knox who brought it to us across the wilderness, all the way from Canada. Let me assure you, sir, that should this plan succeed, the other general officers assisting me in its execution will have full as good a right to any encomiums as myself. Here, let me show you. Our plan is to cross the river in 3 places. I shall cross with the main division of men under Greene and Sullivan here at McConkey's Ferry. At the same time, Ewing will cross at Morrisville and Gates from Bristol to create as much diversion for the enemy as possible. A most thorough report has been given me by John Honeyman, who is so clever as to be thought by many to be a Tory spy. He has informed me that the dispositions of the Hessians across the river are such that the garrison at Trenton can be attacked successfully. Now is the time to clip their wings while they're so spread. But it will be victory or death. I am commanding the beaten, tattered remnants of an army, while the Hessians at Trenton are among the finest troops of all Europe.
The Hessian troops of whom the general speaks are particularly despised by the colonists because they are hired German soldiers brought over by the English for a price to fight a cause that is not their own. You are counting then, General Washington, on the fact that the Hessians will be celebrating Christmas night?
I have learned not to count on what my own troops will do, let alone the enemy. But I am hopeful that the Hessians will be distracted by the celebration of the holiday, for there is no other time for attack. In another week, I will again be without an army. The handful of men I have left is daily decreasing. During our disastrous retreat across New Jersey, the enlistment terms expired for the men of the Maryland and New Jersey militias, and they departed at once for home, with the enemy at our backs but a 2-hour march away. I have remaining but a few regiments of 200 strong. Some are down to between 40 and 90. We are plagued by disease. You can form no idea of the perplexity of my situation. No man, I believe, ever had a greater choice of difficulties and less means to extricate himself from them. The loss of Philadelphia would be the fatal blow to America.
Necessity, dire necessity will, nay, must justify my attack. And if every nerve is not strained to recruit the new army with all possible haste, then I think the game is just about up. With their very freedom at stake, my men talk of nothing but going home. This is a time of war. And until his job is done, a soldier should not allow himself to think of going home.
We take you now to General Washington's home in Mount Vernon, which he has not seen since he received his appointment as Commander-in-Chief of the Revolutionary Forces. Come in, Harlow Wilcox.
This is Harlow Wilcox in the upstairs sitting room of Martha Washington at Mount Vernon. Downstairs in the big family parlor, members of the Washington and Custis families with their children are gathered to enjoy the Christmas holiday.
I suspect they have all come on the General's orders. He has written them to spend as much time as possible here at Mount Vernon, to keep a lonely woman company. It was in the spring of last year. He rode away from Mount Vernon to be gone from home but a few weeks as Virginia's delegate to Congress. He has now been gone nearly 2 years. He wrote me this letter when he left Philadelphia to take his command. My dear Patsy, I am now set down to write you on a subject which fills me with inexpressible concern, and this concern is greatly aggravated and increased when I reflect upon the uneasiness I know it will give you. It has been determined in Congress that the whole army raised for the defense of the American cause shall be put under my care, and it is necessary for me to proceed immediately to Boston to take upon me the command of it. I shall feel no pain from the toil or the danger of the campaign. My unhappiness will flow from the uneasiness I know you will feel in being left alone. Upon finishing this letter to me, he immediately wrote our every friend and relative, urging them all to Mount Vernon. So I'm able to write him truthfully that I'm seldom without company. As he would wish it, our stable is always full of horses.
I understand also, Mrs. Washington, that you have visited the General at camp.
I went to him at Cambridge, yes. And for as long as the war shall last, I shall go to him whenever it is possible.
What recent news have you had of the General?
Recent? The news I receive of him is never very recent. Although he writes me faithfully, the post is most unreliable. It grieves my heart sorely that I cannot know this day, this very moment, where my husband is, what task he is setting himself to, and what difficulties rest heavily upon his mind and soul.
We return you now to Cleet Roberts with General Washington at McConkey's Ferry. Come in, Cleet Roberts.
This is Cleet Roberts at McConkey's Ferry. The man reporting to General Washington is Colonel John Glover, commander of the Marblehead Fishermen.
First wave of troops has started to cross, sir. We're on schedule, then. Allowing 6 hours to cross in 3 ways should give us a margin of safety of some 3 hours.
We're likely to need that margin of time desperately, sir. The storm is worsening. And as you know, General, many of my men are incapacitated by sickness.
I know, Colonel Glover, that against every disadvantage, you and your men will do all that you can.
Yes, sir.
Colonel Glover.
Oh, yes.
What type of vessel is being used by your men to take the troops across?
Durham boats. The ore and grain barges. We've had about 40 of them hidden behind Malta Island, a little upstream.
How are they propelled?
By my men, 4 or 6 to a boat using 18-foot poles. But with the weather as it is and ice already on the river, there'll be great difficulty. Excuse me.
You better try some of this, Colonel. It's going to be a cold night.
Thank you. I will need it.
Where's from Colonel Harrison at headquarters, sir?
Oh, yes.
When does Colonel Glover plan to return for the second loading of the men?
At best, a little over an hour. Yes. Gentlemen, all of us must do what we can to keep up the morale of the troops on both sides of the river. Ill-clothed as they are, standing around in this cold, waiting to go into action, will not put them in the best of spirits.
Yes, sir.
There's one factor in our favor, General Greene. There's no defense set up on the opposite shore.
I can think of no other factor in our favor, sir.
One other, perhaps. It is still Christmas. General, I suppose we are fortunate that the moon is hidden by heavy clouds. But loading artillery, the 18 field pieces alone, in such complete darkness, will present considerable difficulty. But once we are transported across the river, it would be quite useless for us to march the 9 miles to Trenton without the artillery. Would it not, Colonel Laux? I shouldn't want to try it, sir. We'll have the artillery, every piece of it. Good.
Our muskets are likely to get so wet, sir, as to make them useless.
We'll have our bayonets.
Sir, a message from General Gates in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia?
I understand that he's on his way to Congress.
So he explains. Lee negligent of my orders. Putnam's refusal to lend me any substantial aid. Now Gates's resignation of his command at so crucial a time as this.
What about the crossing at Bristol?
This leaves Cadwalader in charge there.
General, I doubt if Cadwalader will be able to cross. Or Ewing either. There's ice on the river, and with the inclement weather.
There's ice on the river here, and inclement weather.
Here we will operate according to plan.
But, sir, if Cadwalader and Ewing don't cross...
Whatever difficulties there are, I'm determined to cross the Delaware this night and engage in the enterprise I have formed against Trenton. I am of the firm opinion that this task we have undertaken must meet with success if America is to see another Christmas.
Watch your oars. Don't break the oars. Keep pulling. Easy. Steady as we go. Pull steady. Watch out for ice. Easy. Easy now. Pull steady now. Steady. Steady as she goes.
More factors than he knew were to be against Washington's daring undertaking that Christmas night of 1776. Ewing and Cadwalader did not cross according to plan, and Washington's crossing, planned for 6 hours, took over 9. But when his ill-clothed, half-frozen army was at last assembled with horses and artillery on the opposite shore of the Delaware, they marched to victory at Trenton. The Hessians, with no reason to anticipate an attack from a defeated army in the face of overwhelming odds, were caught completely off guard. Of his troops, whom he had once witnessed fleeing in cowardly disorder from the enemy, Washington now wrote, "Officers and men behaved with great firmness, poise, advance, and bravery." While Washington himself, with his decisive action at Delaware, proved history's answer to his critics. Washington did not overestimate the value of the Delaware crossing. With this action, the tide of the American Revolution was turned. The victory at Trenton broke the British hold on the western part of New Jersey and launched Washington's troops into an offensive campaign of action against the enemy. 2 months later, Congress reconvened in Philadelphia and expressed renewal of its faith in General Washington by vesting him with full, ample, and complete powers to raise and support a strong national army. December the 25th, 1776. What sort of a day was it? A day like all days, filled with those events that alter and illuminate our time. And you were there.
This is John Daly of Princeton, New Jersey. On this 8th day of January, 1781, America's war for independence hangs in the balance. In a few moments, here on a wind-swept parade ground, Governor Joseph Reed of Pennsylvania will offer General George Washington's terms to the 11 mutinous regiments of the Pennsylvania line. These regiments, the bulk of General Washington's Continental Army, mutinied last week over allegedly intolerable conditions. If today they accept Governor Reed's proposals from General Washington, they will go back into the line. If they refuse, it is feared that they will desert to the British, and the armed might of the United States of America will collapse, ending in disaster this country's 5-year-old struggle for independence from England. Everywhere in the nation on this cold January morning, from Boston to Savannah, the fears and the hopes of Americans are centered on this windy field.
January 8, 1781, Princeton, New Jersey. You are there.
Mutiny in General George Washington's Continental Army. Insurrection so critical that it endangers the war for independence. CBS takes you back 168 years to an obscure but decisive crisis in the birth of the American Republic. All things are as they were then, except for one thing. When CBS is there, you are there. You Are There, produced and directed by Robert Louis Cheyon, is based on authentic historical fact and quotation. And now,
Princeton, New Jersey, a windswept parade ground, and John Daly.
Washington to the mutinied regiments of the Pennsylvania line, the fate of American independence will be decided. Last Monday, New Year's Day, at Mount Kemble, their winter headquarters, these 11 regiments, comprising some 2,000 soldiers, killed and wounded several of their officers and then marched out of camp. They took the road to Philadelphia, causing panic in that city and among the members of the Continental Congress there. The men were in a wild, explosive mood. No one knew what their plans were. Some said they meant to loot Philadelphia. Others thought that they were on their way to desert to the British. But arriving here at Princeton on Wednesday, they seized the buildings of the College of New Jersey, set up a fortified camp, and elected a board of sergeants. This board permitted no one, not even officers, to enter. But finally, last Saturday, following extensive communication with General Washington at Continental Army headquarters at West Point, Governor Reed of Pennsylvania advised the board that he wished to offer terms, and the sergeants invited him to Princeton. Governor Reed will announce General Washington's offer to an assembly of the regiments drawn up on the field here. The troops are, as a matter of fact, falling in by regiments now. The governor is at Colonel George Morgan's mansion at the south end of the parade ground. With him is General Anthony Wayne, the executive officer of the Philadelphia line. They're waiting there for the troops to complete their assembly. The big question is, what are General Washington's terms, and will the troops accept those terms? For an analysis of that question, we take you now to our headquarters booth here at the College of New Jersey and Major George Fielding Elliott.
First of all, let's look at what the Pennsylvania troops want. The men mutinied because they didn't have enough to eat. They were poorly clothed and supplied. They weren't paid regularly. They received their last pay 6 months ago. But most important of all, these veterans of the line want to be discharged from the service and go home. The men claim that their officers tricked them. Most of them can't read or write. They signed their names with a mark, and they say they thought they were signing up for 3 years. On the other hand, the officers of the Pennsylvania line insist that the men knew that they were signing up for the duration of the war. Of course, the officers have the problem of keeping an army together to fight the war. Now, how can General Washington cut this Gordian knot? He can't discharge all the men. To do so would be to demobilize the bulk of his army. It would open the way for the British to Philadelphia. Other state lines have similar grievances, and such a settlement would be literally inviting them to mutiny. It would mean the disintegration of the whole of Washington's army. General Washington, of necessity, must offer the men much less than they demand. In their present mood, however, it seems doubtful that they will accept less. If they don't accept General Washington's offer, the men may desert to the British in New York. Of course, that too would mean disaster for the war for independence. And so, that's the situation. A very grave and critical situation. Well, here at Princeton, the troops have still not completed their assembly. And at West Point, New York, Arthur Haynes is ready to interview General George Washington himself on this matter. So, over to West Point.
General Washington is with us now at our microphone. General Washington, can you tell us the terms Governor Reed will offer for you to the Pennsylvania mutineers?
I regret that I cannot. Governor Reed has agreed with the Board of Sergeants representing the troops at Princeton that the terms will be made public only on the parade ground, to all the men at the same time.
I see. Well, does the fact, General, that the Board of Sergeants has agreed to this mean that the board itself has accepted the terms?
No, as I understand it, the Board of Sergeants is not empowered to accept any terms. Only the troops can do that.
Well, then, do you think, General Washington, that the troops will accept the terms?
Well, I think the complaints of the men are fully justified. I've begged and pleaded with the Congress and the respective state governments to take action to right their wrongs. Unfortunately, our legislators have failed to act, and so the troops have acted instead. Acted rashly, yes, but now I believe they've had time to consider the grave possibilities inherent in their impulsive action, I'm certain they must realize that if our struggle for independence is to continue, it's impossible to grant what they ask. They must compromise. You know, I cannot find it in my heart to believe that the men who stood fast with us 3 years ago at Valley Forge will become traitors today at Princeton.
General Washington, what about the reports that the mutineers are being led by British agents?
No, I refuse to believe that.
You don't think, then, that the agents of the enemy are among the troops at Princeton?
Oh, certainly they are. The enemy has definitely infiltrated our ranks everywhere. Their agents take advantage of difficult conditions in the army to stir up discontent. But discontent, sir, is not treason. No, I would stake my life and all that I hold dear that the men of Pennsylvania are not treasonous. They must remain loyal today. They must listen to the voice of reason and patriotism. They must accept our terms.
Thank you, General George Washington. This is Arthur Harris at Continental Army Headquarters, West Point, New York. We return you now to our CBS headquarters booth at Princeton and Major George Fielding Elliott.
Our Philadelphia newsroom informs us that a short while ago, CBS correspondent Don Hollenbeck returned from enemy-held New York City. He passed through the lines under safe conduct to interview Sir Henry Clinton, Commander-in-Chief of British forces, for his views on the mutiny of the Pennsylvania line. Hollenbeck made a tape recording of the interview, and our Philadelphia newsroom will play it for you now. Bear in mind, of course, that Sir Henry Clinton speaks as the enemy military commander. Much of what he says may be discounted as propaganda. CBS, however, has verified the factual information in the interview, and it may have important bearing on the situation at Princeton. The next voice you hear will be that of Don Hollenbeck, speaking by tape recording.
We're in the library of the mansion near Bowling Green, which Sir Henry Clinton has taken over as his personal residence. A reception is in progress here. The guests are dancing in the drawing room to a minuet by Haydn, but Sir Henry has taken leave of them to grant us this interview. Sir Henry, sir, may we have your opinion on this mutiny of the Pennsylvania line?
Oh, pleasure, sir. Very great pleasure. The spectacle in the New Jersey colony is a happy omen. What shall shortly come to pass in all of His Majesty's colonies in America.
I see. You expect the other state lines to follow the Pennsylvanians into mutiny?
Indeed, sir, I do. Why do you suppose Washington and the Continental Congress are offering terms to the mutineers? Rather degrading, what? The commander of an army and the government of an alleged nation on their knees before common soldiers, entreating them to obey orders. And why, sir, do you suppose force has not been employed to quell the mutiny? I shall tell you why. Because even Washington's own men at West Point are on the verge of mutiny. My intelligence informs me that everywhere the Continental troops are coming to their senses, and the civilians as well.
Well, you think, then, sir, that the rest of the states may end their war for independence?
The respective colonies, sir, have had enough. His Majesty's subjects now realize full well the folly, the madness of the criminal sin they have committed in rebellion against the crown. They are turning, as they should, in righteous wrath against their misleader. And as His Majesty's Commissioner for the Peace, I am prepared to to welcome all the prodigals back to His Majesty's sovereign embrace.
Yes, I understand, sir.
Well, that's very good of you.
Sir Henry, is it true that your agents are busy among the Pennsylvania mutineers, encouraging them to return to His Majesty's sovereign embrace?
It is true that I have dispatched a personal representative to the Pennsylvania line. He is Mr. John Mason, a civilian of New York City, and he will make known to the troops the conditions under which I shall be disposed to receive them.
And what are those conditions, Sir Henry?
I very much fear me that you shall have to wait upon Mr. Mason for that intelligence, sir.
Well, Sir Henry, do you think that the men will accept those conditions?
Certainly. Mark my words, sir. It is only a matter of days before Mr. George Washington and his despicable crew of traitors will be hanging from the trees in so-called Independence Square in Philadelphia. And now, sir, my compliments, my guests await me.
Thank you so much, Sir Henry Clinton.
This is George Fielding Elliott in Princeton again. The interview you just heard was a tape recording made by Don Hollenbeck at British headquarters in New York City. And now the troops of the Pennsylvania line have completed their assembly on the parade ground outside. Governor Reed is ready to address them. So, over to John Daly.
The men of the Pennsylvania regiments are drawn up before a platform here at the west end of the field. Governor Reed, General Wayne, and their party are at the foot of the platform now. They came out of Colonel Morgan's mansion a few minutes ago. The governor is talking to Sergeant Bowser, the secretary of the Board of Sergeants. He's a small man, thin, almost emaciated, and I should judge about 60 years old. Before the war, he was a printer in Philadelphia. The men of the 11 Pennsylvania regiments, standing rigidly at attention in this raw, biting wind, must feel it penetrate their ragged and tattered uniforms, so shabby and meager that they're hardly to be called uniforms. Their faces are thin with hunger and blue with cold, and they're silent, utterly without expression. You can't help wondering what they think as they see Governor Reed and the other members of the delegation from the Continental Congress, fresh from comfortable Philadelphia, seemingly untouched by the rigors of war. And now Sergeant Bowser and Governor Reed are mounting the platform. There's the drum roll. In just a moment, the sergeant will speak.
Men, 'tis a foul day for ill-clad and poor-shod lads to be standing outdoors. So I'll not belabor you with talk. You know what Governor Reed is here for, so let's give ear to what His Excellency has to say. Soldiers of Pennsylvania, General Washington believes that you have acted not as traitors, but out of a sense of outrage and indignation caused by conditions which you deem intolerable. Let me therefore list the proposals of your Commander-in-Chief to alleviate those conditions. Firstly, a pair of shoes, overalls, and a shirt will be delivered out to each soldier in a few days. Secondly, the arrears of pay will be made up as soon as circumstances will permit. Thirdly, no soldier or non-commissioned officer shall be retained in the service beyond the period of his enlistment. Fourthly, in cases where enlistment records are in dispute, the government will set up a board to settle whether such soldiers have enlisted for the duration of the war or for 3 years only. Fifthly, a general amnesty will be granted. There will be no retaliation or punishment. This incident will be allowed to pass into oblivion. Then those are the terms. Discuss them, vote on them. If you are loyal Americans, if you are patriots, you will accept them. I shall await your decision in the Morgan matter.
Finishing his address, Governor Reed steps back and motions to Sergeant Bowser. Now the sergeant again.
You have heard the governor. You will now fall out and proceed at once to your quarters. There you will find copies of General Washington's proposal, which His Excellency has made available to us.
The men are breaking ranks, falling out, and returning to their quarters. Governor Reed and Sergeant Bowser are coming down the platform, and the sergeant evidently will escort the governor, General Wayne, and the others back to the Morgan mansion. But here's Sergeant John Williams, the president of the Board of Sergeants. Let's see if we can get a reaction on General Washington's terms from him. Sergeant Williams. Yes? Sergeant, what do you think of General Washington's proposals to end your mutiny? Are you in favor of accepting?
Nay, sir, I am not.
Why not, Sergeant?
Tis a waste of time to consider General Washington's terms. We ought to be going to the British.
Why? Don't you believe General Washington means what he says?
Promises. Since 79, we've had naught but promises. Can a man wear words on his back? Can he buy rum at the taverns with promises? And what's to be done about discharging the men who served their 3 years in the army? General Washington makes a pretty offer indeed. A government board to decide who's to go home and who isn't. Mister, we all want to go home.
Then you won't accept a compromise.
We can't accept a compromise. If we put down our guns, our officers will hang all our leaders and punish the men. There'll be hanging and flogging to make examples of us for the rest of the army.
But, Sergeant, General Washington promised a general amnesty, no retaliation.
Blast General Washington. We can't trust any man's word. We've got to go to the British.
What about the revolution, Sergeant Williams? Have you thought about the effect the desertion of the Pennsylvania line will have on the rest of the country?
The revolution is lost. It was lost long before we mutinied at Mount Kemble. Lost by the fat-bellied civilians drinking and swilling to their heart's content while we soldiers were starving in the field. So I say finish. Make peace with the British.
Thank you, Sergeant Williams. Now, another opinion on General Washington's terms, this one from the Secretary of the Board of Sergeants, who is at the Morgan Mansion. Go ahead, Jack Walters.
Sergeant Bowser, I just heard the president of your Board of Sergeants tell John Daly that he's not in favor of accepting General Washington's terms. Do you agree with Sergeant Williams?
That's what I'm trying to figure out, lad. And it's a mighty difficult thing to do.
Well, Sergeant Williams predicts that the men will reject Governor Reed's proposals and will go over to the British.
They might do that, and I'm not the man to judge them or blame them. We've had much grief and misery.
Then do you also think, as Sergeant Williams does, that General Washington is only offering the terms to get the troops to lay down their weapons, and not because he means to meet your demands?
Lad, I believe General Washington is a good man. But even good men will go back on their word if they consider it to be a harsh necessity. The general might betray us in the interest of maintaining discipline.
Well, you believe it's right then, Sergeant Bowser, to jeopardize independence for the safety of 2,000 men?
That's a question, lad. Many of the men are saying the war is lost, and they may be right. And if the war is lost, lad, we shall have to answer to the British for taking up arms against them. Perhaps it is a wiser thing to make peace. British now and save our necks.
I see. Then you'll vote to reject the governor's offer.
Nay, lad, nay, I didn't say that. I only said 'tis a question, a difficult question. And no man is going to rush me into making up my mind.
Well, you haven't got much time, Sergeant. Don't you think? Excuse me, Sergeant Bowser. Ned Calmer at Nassau Hall, one of the college buildings, reports that Mr. John Mason, the enemy agent mentioned by Sir Henry Clinton, has arrived at the headquarters of the Board of Sergeants. So now, over to Ned Calmer.
Mr. John Mason arrived here a few minutes ago. He has brought Sir Henry's offer to the troops, and the board has received the offer and is already passing news of it to all the men in their quarters. Sergeant Williams has given us permission to interview Mr. Mason, and he's here with us now at the microphone. Mr. Mason, would you tell us the terms of the offer that you brought to the troops from Sir Henry Clinton?
I should be delighted. If the Pennsylvania troops will now lay down their arms and return to their true allegiance, they will be paid in hard cash. The money due them from the rebel government, and all possible comforts will be supplied to them.
And if the men accept this offer, Mr. Mason, will they be expected to serve in the British rank?
Not at all. No further military service will be asked of the troops, except it may be voluntary. If the Pennsylvania regiment...
Excuse me, Mr. Mason. Governor Reed has just entered the room. He's talking to Sergeant Williams. Let's hear what he says.
Your information is correct, Governor. Meet Mr. John Mason, representing His Majesty's government. Mr. Mason, Governor Joseph Reed of the state of Pennsylvania.
You do, sir.
Sergeant Williams, I demand that this man be shot at once.
You're not in the Pennsylvania Council now, Governor.
You gave me your word that you're treating in good faith. Now you must prove it. If you put this spy to death, you are a spy. And if you put him to death, Sergeant Williams, it will mitigate the offense of leading the regiments into mutiny.
I couldn't put this gentleman to death if I wanted to. The men know he's here. If they vote down General Washington's offer, they'll need him when they go to the British.
I demand that you...
I may be permitted.
Be silent, Mr. Mason.
You, sir, are a rebel. You represent an illegal body. You have no lawful authority whatever to command these men in any fashion.
How dare you?
I dare, sir, to inform Sergeant Williams that if I should be injured in the slightest, Sir Henry Clinton's offer to the Pennsylvania regiments will be automatically null and void.
Sergeant Williams, this is an order. Shoot this man at once.
I'm issuing the orders here, Governor. And my orders are that Mr. Mason is guaranteed his safety until after the men vote. That's all.
This will not be forgotten.
Governor Reed is leaving the room. His face is white with anger. And now Ken Roberts is out there on the field with one of the groups of Pennsylvania men who are going to have to decide soon whether to accept or reject that British offer. Let's find out what's going on there now. Go ahead, Ken Roberts.
Here with me at the microphone is Ensign General John Peters of the 3rd Regiment. He has some pretty strong opinions on the British proposal.
Aye, sure I've got strong opinions. I say, take the British offer. I've been in the line for 5 years, ever since 76. I enlisted for 3 years.
I've had enough of war, enough of fighting. I want to get out while I'm still alive.
Stands right, Peter. Now, here's another man also with the 3rd Infantry. His name is... What's your name again, soldier?
Jim Halloran.
Well, what do you say, Jim? Do you agree with Tom Peters about deserting to the British?
Fight. That's what I want to do. Fight the British, not join them. I didn't mutiny to desert to the enemy. I'm not a traitor. I left the line because we weren't being treated right. But now General Washington's given us fair terms for a settlement, and I say let's take those terms. Let's settle this thing. Let's get back at the enemy.
Fight! That's all you youngsters want to do. Fight! How long have you been in, Halloran?
10 months. What of it?
You say what I mean? 10 months. Wait till he sees his friends killed, dead on the field, like I did at Monmouth, Stony Point, Brandywine. Wait till he starves like I did at Valley Forge. Wait till he hasn't seen his wife and children for 5 years.
And how will that family of yours take to you with a mark of traitor on you? You think your friends will welcome you back?
I don't care about my friends.
Your wife, then, do you think she'll open her arms to you, a deserter?
My wife will have me back and glad to have me. Aye, no matter what I am. And that goes for all the veterans in this camp.
You're a big dumb ox. You're a turncoat, a traitor. That's what you're good for. To polish the boots of the British.
Watch your tongue, you young fool.
There's the assembly call. The men are being summoned to fall in by regiment. It must be voting time, so back to John Daly at the platform.
It is voting time, the crucial vote on General Washington's proposals to end this mutiny and carry on the nation's fight for independence is about to be taken. Sergeant Bowser tells us that the men will vote by a show of hands, a simple majority to decide. The sergeant also tells us that at present there are exactly 1,991 men in the line. If 1,000 men vote in favor, General Washington's proposals will be accepted. Tellers have been appointed for each regiment, and the men are falling in quickly. The assembly is almost complete now. There's a little talk, but the discussion is over, really. Now it's up to each individual soldier. There's the drum roll. Sergeant Bowser is on the platform. In a moment, we'll hear him speak. Let's listen.
Men, there are 2 ways you can go. If you take the road to the British, it'll bring you out safe and sound. But the price is shame and treason. If you take the road that leads back into the line, there's also a price to be paid. You'll be putting your lives in the hands of General Washington. And if he gives you your lives, you may lose them again on the battlefield. Because there's still a war to be fought, and only the good Lord knows whether it's to be won or lost. Now, men, we'll vote on Governor Reed's proposals. All those in favor of accepting them and going back into the line, raise your right hand and raise them high so the tellers can see them.
And hands are going up all over the field. It's impossible to tell how many of the men are voting in favor of General Washington's proposals, but roughly, I'd say a little more than half, but we can't be sure. It's going to be a tight vote in any case. The tellers are moving up and down the ranks, making their count as they move among the men. There are several tellers for each one of the regiments, and they are working swiftly. Now they're signaling up to the platform that the aye count is in. Sergeant Bowser.
Now, let's see the hands of the men who are against accepting General Washington's proposals. Up with them now, up high.
Well, there seem to be somewhat fewer hands, but still I can't be sure. Standing up here on the platform, looking out over these men as they're standing in rows on the fields, it's impossible to count them, but there do seem to be fewer hands. And once again, the tellers are moving up and down through the ranks, making their count. Governor Reed on the south end of the field has come out to watch. General Wayne is with him. Also, the members of the Continental Congress delegation who have come up, as we told you, from Philadelphia. John Mason, the British agent, is at the west end of the field under guard, and he's watching the vote with Sergeant Williams. If the men are loyal, he most likely will be summarily shot as a spy. Now the tellers are beginning to move toward the platform to report to Sergeant Bowser, and of course they will give him the individual regimental counts, and he'll have to total them before we have a final figure. As I said before, the Pennsylvania line numbers 1,991 men. A vote of 1,000 will be decisive one way or the other. Sergeant Bowser's up there busy now with the tellers who've come up from the ranks. He's checking his figures with two members of the board, and in a moment, we'll know the result. We'll know whether the men of the Pennsylvania line... Here's the result.
You make your decision. The count is 781 against and 1,210 for. We're going back into the line, lads, and may God help us.
The mutiny of the Pennsylvania line is over, and the men are returning to their duty. General Washington's faith in the patriotism of the men who fought and suffered with him for independence for 5 long years has been justified. And you can only imagine the intense relief and gratification that he will feel at this inspiring news. It'll undoubtedly give a new stimulus and...
January 8, 1781. The men of Pennsylvania turned their backs on treason, and the war for independence goes on to victory.
December 4th, 1783. Washington's farewell to his officers. You are there.
Walter Cronkite reporting, December 4th, 1783. Today in New York, General George Washington, Commander-in-Chief of the victorious Continental Army, is leaving to go home. The war is over, the long-delayed peace treaty has been signed, and the British troops have evacuated the city. The New York Patriots are still wildly jubilant. For 2 weeks, they have hailed General Washington as no leader has ever been hailed before. He's been acclaimed the national hero, the man who through 8 years of incredible hardship and difficulties led the revolution to victory. Today, this man, too, is to say farewell. He, too, is going home. Just before General Washington departs on his journey back to Mount Vernon in Virginia, he's arranged a last meeting with a group of his officers in Fraunces Tavern, a well-known dining establishment near Whitehall. From there, the general will board a barge that will carry him to Powell's Hook on a waiting horse. Among those called to this final assemblage are men who have been with Washington in every campaign. What will he say to them now that all the battles are ended and the moment of parting has come? We take you to Fraunces Tavern in New York. All things are as they were then, except...
You are there.
This is Harry Marble in Fraunces Tavern here in New York. This farewell meeting was called for noon. It is now some 20 minutes short of that hour, and we expect that the officers will start arriving at any moment. Outside, there's quite a crowd gathered for a last glimpse of General Washington. We understand also that the streets leading from here to the wharf at Whitehall, the departing point, are also thronged with waiting spectators. That fife, drum, and bugle corps you hear seems to have been playing continuously for 2 weeks, ever since the general and his army entered the city. That is Sam Fraunces, the owner of the tavern. He is the general's favorite northern host and cook, having served him on many occasions before the tide of battle swept the Continental Army out of New York. Here are 2 officers, the first to arrive.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Your names, gentlemen?
Colonel Small, 4th Massachusetts.
Major Thayer, same.
How long have you served, sir?
5 years.
And you, sir?
From the beginning.
Has either of you ever had personal contact with General Washington?
Don't know what you mean by personal contact. He once threatened to strip me of my rank.
Why was that, sir?
My men were complaining. They didn't have enough food for their bellies. I couldn't explain to them why they should always be hungry.
What happened?
The general called me in. I went back and I explained it to them.
Did you ever personally meet the general, sir?
I met him many times.
In battles?
In battles. In between battles. Long Island, Trenton, West Point.
Can you give us your impression of him?
You mean his physical appearance?
No, just your impression of him as a man, his character.
Well, I don't know. He always struck me as a Virginia gentleman. They kind of speak to you cool-like and far away.
Then you have no other fond, no warm impression of him at all?
None. Except that he gave the leadership that won the war.
Thank you, sir.
Morning, gentlemen. Small.
How do you do, sir?
There.
General?
It's good seeing you, Munnigan.
You, sir, would you identify yourself?
Brigadier General James Clinton.
You are General Clinton. You stopped the British at Kingston.
My men stopped them.
Weren't you also at Yorktown, sir, when Cornwallis surrendered?
You evoke the most pleasant of my memories. I was also present at some of our own disasters.
Quebec?
Quebec and others.
You must know General Washington quite well.
As far back as the French and Indian War.
Is it true that he is by nature an aloof man?
He's a reserved man. He doesn't spout and snort. Likes to weigh things carefully before taking action.
But does he ever show any emotion at all?
You mean by that anger? Or scorn or hatred?
Or pity or affection or joy? His true feelings?
Very rarely.
What do you think he will say to you at this most sensitive occasion? How will he behave?
He will be polite, mannered, gracious. And if he says anything at all, it'll be very proper. Probably extremely dull.
And what, if I may ask, sir, are your feelings toward him?
He is a great leader. I've served under him here on earth. I'd serve under him anywhere. Heaven or hell.
Thank you, General Clinton.
General? Thank you.
Monroe! General. Small, it's good to see you. Tell me. Well, the old boy isn't here yet, huh?
No, sir, he's not.
Mr. Francis certainly has outdone himself.
Would you identify yourself, sir?
Oh. Lieutenant Colonel Benjamin Talmadge.
Can you tell us something about yourself and your activities with the Army?
All that?
Anything you choose, sir.
Well, I hardly know what to say about myself. I was born in Brookhaven. I graduated from Yale in '73. And soon after, I joined the Connecticut Regiment. And now, like General Washington, I'd like to go home.
Where have you seen action, sir?
Oh, in Brandywine, Germantown, Monmouth. I led the attack on Fort St. George, where we destroyed quite a store of their supplies.
Weren't you also connected in some way with the capture of the British spy, Major Andre?
He was in my custody until his execution.
You know General Washington personally?
I do.
How do you feel about this last meeting with him?
Well, I haven't thought about it. We were asked to assemble here. I suppose the general will have a little speech to make to us. He usually does. Certainly is a sad occasion.
You don't appear to be very sad.
I've had enough of sadness. 8 years of it. The general should be overjoyed. We have accomplished this miraculous thing. This revolution. The celebrations are just beginning. They're just beginning. What's there to be sad about?
While we are waiting for more of the officers to arrive, we will take you to General Washington's quarters. Come in, Ned Calmer.
This is Ned Calmer in General Washington's rooms in Cape's Tavern on Broadway and Thames Street. The general is all packed and ready to leave for the farewell meeting and then the journey home. That's Lieutenant Colonel David Humphreys, one of the general's aides who will accompany him on the trip.
We should be leaving in a few minutes, sir. It's almost noon.
Colonel, do you think I will be able to buy children's books in Philadelphia? They had none here.
If you would give me the list of the things you still wish to purchase, sir, I would be happy to see the merchants for you.
My list never seems to end. I have here a locket, a whirligig, fiddle, quadrille boxes. I thought I had bought all the Christmas presents for Mrs. Washington and the grandchildren, but this morning I was thinking of the servants and the neighbors. Well, do what you can with it. Oh, by the way, who is to pay Mr. Francis for this last collection of his foods and wines?
I assume it will be part of Governor Clinton's burden.
Will Governor Clinton be at Francis Tavern?
Yes, sir. The civil dignitaries will await you as you leave there.
I wonder if the people know that Clinton had to borrow money from the quartermaster in Philadelphia to pay for our victorious entry here and for all the entertainments and celebrations thereof.
I imagine he'll be glad when we're going, sir.
I wish General Greene would have been there. I would not mind to have had Lafayette. You know, Colonel, I
have no notion at all as to what I should say on this occasion.
Whatever you choose to say, sir, I'm certain it will be found most appropriate.
You're too kind.
If I may say so, sir, I hope you do not attempt a major pronouncement.
I'm through with major pronouncements, Colonel. Through, I trust, for the rest of my days. I think on this occasion I should be brief, friendly, and cheerful. Would you agree?
These partings are most difficult, sir.
This one, above all. I hold no other group of men in higher esteem.
Their admiration for you, sir, is not less.
Call me when we're ready.
Yes, sir.
General Washington, would it be too much of an intrusion to know your thoughts at this moment?
My thoughts? What are they indeed? At long last of going home, of retirement from an arduous task, of peace and green hills and a warm house, to be with family and friends.
And what of the past, sir, the war?
The war was many things. Mistakes, misfortunes, hardships, many things. But above all, the spirit of devotion of the men, soldiers and officers. Spirit more noble than I can readily describe. Of battles fought with empty cartridge boxes and empty stomachs. Of wagons without horses and horses without forage. If a shoeless survivor fell ill, he was sent to the hospital where, half alive, he would still whisper no to any mutineer who would suggest going over to the frenzied British. And yet they fought, though there was neglect, incompetence, treachery, and defeat. Months without pay, and pay without purchasing power. It was this spirit that enabled me to give what leadership I could, with what patience and faith and resolution I could summon. It is to such men that I am about to say farewell. It is a task far more painful than I feel able to perform.
We must leave now, sir.
We return you to Francis Tavern and Harry Marble.
We are back at Francis Tavern, and all the invited officers of the immediate vicinity have now arrived and are waiting for the general. There you see General von Steuben, who trained much of the army in military technique and discipline. General von Steuben, what are your feelings, sir, on this farewell meeting?
I am happy for General Washington that he goes now home. But I hope he does not stay there too long.
What prompts you to say that, sir?
This war is over. Another one soon begins. The British sail away, but you are not finished with them, or with other enemies of your freedom. You are not finished here. Washington takes a rest, but then he must come back. There is much Schweinerei here before you have a unity and a nation.
From your long military experience, General, how do you estimate the leadership given by General Washington?
In the Prussian army, I get shot if I answer such a question. That's why I come here. I argue with General Washington over his tactics for the whole war. We argue.
And who is proven right?
Sometimes we are both right, sometimes we are both wrong. But he's more often right than I am. I am proud to fight a war with him.
And what will you do now that the war is over?
I make trouble for your Congress. I lose my fortune here and everything. I make trouble for some pension or something. You must understand that when a baron fights for a revolution, it is not the same as a farmer or a blacksmith. I'm still a baron.
What do you expect General Washington will say here to all of you?
It does not matter what he will say. It is 8 years. We are together. And now it comes to the end. Whatever he will say, it will only make me like a fool to cry.
Thank you, sir. General McDougal, this is Major General Alexander McDougal, who succeeded Benedict Arnold in the command of West Point after the latter's treachery. General McDougal, weren't you one of the chief officers recently involved in threatening Congress with rebellion if they did not meet the demands for pay?
That is correct.
What was the exact threat made, sir?
As I remember it, we issued a call for a meeting. We said, tell Congress that though we were the first and would wish to be the last to encounter danger, though despair itself could never drive you into dishonor, it may drive you from the field.
Was that all, sir?
No, sir, there was more. We also said that the wound, often irritated and never healed, may at length prove incurable. And that the slightest mark of disunity now from Congress must operate like the grave and part you forever.
You are putting it rather strongly, don't you think, General?
We went further than that. We said that in any political event, the Army has its alternative. If peace, then nothing but death can separate them from your arms. If war, that courting the auspices and inviting the direction of your illustrious leader, you will retire to some unsettled country, smile in your turn, and mock when the fear cometh on.
As I interpret that threat, it meant that the officers were being called on to desert Congress, to leave the coast defenseless, and set up a new state in the wilderness.
That is correct. And if peace came, they would not lay down their arms.
And how did General Washington react to this?
He called a general meeting and denounced any course that would leave the country defenseless. He showed us the futility of our threat and the terrible danger to the cause for which we had fought.
And what about the demands for pay?
Oh, those he hardly agreed upon and forced Congress to act upon them.
Then you won the demands for pay.
Some of them we did, yes. But we still have not been paid. The rank and file is being discharged with a musket and a promise.
How is it, sir, if I may ask, that you were not court-martialed?
I said that General Washington supported our demands. He understood our anger. And I would also say that he provided us with a more tolerant vision. His own vision, I would say.
How do you feel? What are your thoughts at this parting here?
I have fought in many battles against tyranny from the days of the Sons of Liberty. The British threw me in jail on the charge of spreading seditious literature. We've had this bloody war now, and we have thrown them out. Washington gave himself, as no other man I know, to the cause that has engaged my life. All the glory he has now cannot repay the inhuman burden that he was asked to bear. How shall I feel about parting with such a man? How indeed?
General Knox, if you please, sir. General Knox forced the British to evacuate Boston and was in charge of artillery for the army. Is that correct, sir?
It is, but you say it like my epitaph. I'm not retiring yet, presently commanding at West Point.
Perhaps you can tell us this, sir. Of all the generals at the start of the war, how many are present here now?
Well, let me see. Congress Commission 29. Present here are 3. Von Steuben, McDougal, and myself.
What happened to the others?
7 resigned, 6 died, 1 Benedict Arnold betrayed us. The rest, Green is still south, all the others elsewhere. Our casualties in generals was quite high.
Of all the officers assembled here, who would you say, sir, knows General Washington most intimately?
I would say I do.
You have seen him, as it were, in other than formal situations?
Many times.
How does he behave under less formal conditions?
Generally, more formal.
Then would you say he was intrinsically cold and impersonal?
I would say it is a matter of a great will and self-training for many years to react to all situations with the objectivity of the mind rather than the uncertain recklessness of the heart.
Is he personally an unhappy man?
A worrying man. A suffering man. A very proud, at times a very lonely man. No, not an unhappy man. Underneath the calm exterior, there is a passionate devotion to the largest and smallest responsibilities in life. Such a man cannot be called unhappy. His sense of accomplishment must always be enormous.
This meeting here, will he respond to the emotion it holds?
Very deeply, but you may never see it.
What does this farewell mean to you, General Knox?
Well, there's too much memory for all of us to face here. The General, I'm certain, will set a light and casual tone, and I will help pass it off very properly as just another bloody bore.
Gentlemen, General Washington.
General. How are you, Sam?
Fine, sir, fine. May I ask, sir, how is Mrs. Washington?
She could be better, Sam.
Maybe she will, sir, when you come home.
I'm sure of it. What choice British morsels have you prepared for us? There's no food like this in the world. General, I trust you haven't changed your mind about accompanying me to Philadelphia.
Nine. I must see the celebration there.
Gentlemen, will you join me? Gentlemen. Well, sirs? With a heart full of love and gratitude, I now take my leave of you. I most devoutly wish that your later days will be as happy and prosperous as have your former ones been honorable and glorious. I would feel much obliged if each of you would come to me that I might shake your hand. What's your name, son?
Colonel Small, 4th Massachusetts, sir. There you go.
When the last officer had received his embrace, the general walked across the room, raised his arm in a silent final farewell, and passed through the door, out of the tavern on his way to the wharf. At the wharf, every foot of space was crowded, and many held up little children to look at this great man who was trying to set his mouth and keep taut the muscles of his face against further tears. George Washington left for the journey home. The war was over, and he never thought that the day would come when he would have to make the journey back. But the day did come. 6 years later, he returned as the first president of the United States. The people had called again, and being the absolute patriot, service to his country being his supreme ideal, Washington once more accepted the mantle of highest leadership. He did not know on that day of the farewell to his officers that the source of that love and compassion he showed for his comrades in arms could never be retired and would never let him rest. What sort of a day was it? A day like all days, filled with those events that alter and illuminate our times. And you were there.
This is John Daly at Convention Hall, Richmond, Virginia. On this 25th day of June, 1788, the Virginia Ratifying Convention has been taken completely by surprise. Mr. Edmund Randolph, present governor of Virginia, has come out publicly in favor of the proposed federal constitution for the United States of America. As a delegate to this crucial convention, and up to now an avowed enemy of the Constitution, Governor Randolph has been a leader in the campaign against ratification. But he has just told reporters that he will speak and vote for ratification when the convention reconvenes to vote a few minutes from now. Thus, the Constitution, which would unite the 13 American states under a strong central government, has found a powerful friend in an unexpected quarter.
June 25th, 1788, the Convention Hall, Richmond, Virginia. You are there.
Virginia, key state in the plan to form the 13 original states into a united America, stands undecided, torn by dissension, and the Constitution hangs in the balance. CBS takes you back 160 years to the day that determined whether Americans could go forward from revolution and establish a stable central government. All things are as they were then, except for one thing. When CBS is there, you are there. You Are There, produced and directed by Robert Louis Cheon, is based on authentic historical facts and quotations. And now,
Virginia, the Richmond Convention Hall, and John Daly.
For a group of reporters hurriedly summoned to the governor's executive chamber a few minutes ago. Asked why he is turning from the party of Patrick Henry to the party of James Madison, Governor Randolph would not amplify his statement, saying only that he will give the reasons which prompted his move on the floor of the convention. And we hurried from that news conference to this microphone here on the convention floor to bring you this news. There's Mr. James Monroe, one of Mr. Patrick Henry's chief lieutenants, in the fight against ratification. Mr. Monroe. Sir? Sir, are you aware that Governor Randolph has gone over to the Federalist Party?
I am indeed.
Would you care to comment on it, Mr. Monroe?
Any remarks on Governor Randolph's strange conduct will come from Mr. Henry, the leader of our party.
But how do you think Governor Randolph's action will affect the vote on ratification, sir?
No comment, sir. No comment.
Mr. Monroe has turned away from the microphone. Our brief conversation, a mark of the confusion Governor Randolph's change of mind has produced here. Ned Kelmer has been analyzing the possibilities inherent in Governor Randolph's action and is ready now with his report. So over to our CBS headquarters booth here in Convention Hall and Ned Kelmer.
Governor Randolph's sudden allegiance to the Federalists may have a decisive effect on this convention. Roughly half of the delegates represent the cities, towns, and the tidewater planters, and the other half come from the rural districts. Generally speaking, the planters and the businessmen are in favor of a national constitution. They are haunted by memories of Daniel Shays' rebellion in Massachusetts last year, and they want the Constitution as an instrument to end social chaos. On the other hand, the rural delegates, by and large, oppose the Constitution. At present, they're paying their debts with cheap state paper money, and they fear that national currency reforms would work to their disadvantage. But Governor Randolph has much influence and prestige among the country delegates. His change of position may very well swing the necessary votes from among them to carry the ratification. Thus, what happens here in Virginia today may decide the destiny of America. As you know, 9 states must ratify the proposed Constitution if it's to supplant the Articles of Confederation. 8 states have already ratified, and 4 others probably will not. If Virginia fails to ratify, the Constitution is likely to be doomed. And in that case, just a moment, Governor Randolph, at his executive mansion, has consented to grant our reporter, Don Hollenbeck, a brief interview before departing for this convention hall. So over to Don Hollenbeck at the governor's mansion. Governor Randolph, sir, will you tell us why you've made this last-minute turn from the anti-Constitution party to the Federalists?
I have joined the Federalists because the anti-Constitution party has caused far too much delay on the pressing issue of a strong central government.
Why do you feel that we need a strong central government such as the proposed Constitution outlines?
It is imperative. The union of the states sags apart for want of it. Mr. Henry fails to see the danger. He occupies himself with legalistic assaults on various phases of the Constitution without realizing that the measure as a whole is desperately needed.
Well, Governor, do you endorse the proposed Constitution in toto without amendments?
No, I do not. I hope and trust that certain amendments will subsequently be adopted, such as a Bill of Rights and a clause absolutely forbidding the importation of Negro slaves. But all that can come later. Time is running out, and we cannot go on under the Articles of Confederation.
Thank you, Governor Randolph. This is Don Hollenbeck returning you now to John Daly on the floor of Convention Hall.
About 80 delegates are here now, and among them is Mr. Patrick Henry, former governor of Virginia, leader of the anti-Constitution party. He's wearing the ill-fitting wig and shabby black coat for which he is famous, and his hawk-like face is grim and forbidding. Mr. Henry! Sir, would you care to comment on Governor Randolph's repudiation of the anti-Constitution party?
Governor Randolph, bah! My opponents are welcome to him. He, like they, has turned his back on the revolution. He's divorced himself from the common people and embraced that hydra-headed monster property.
Well, do you mean to suggest, sir, that the Constitution favors the property-holding classes of the nation?
Yes. May I charge you? The worship of private property is implicit in every article of that infamous document. 1 year ago, sir, at Philadelphia, the Constitution stank so noisomely that Governor Randolph refused to sign it. Does it smell any sweeter now? No. The Constitution remains unchanged. It is Edmund Randolph who has changed. Randolph. An empty sail billowing with the wind from the tidewater.
Are you implying, Mr. Henry, that Governor Randolph has yielded to pressure from the Tidewater plantation?
No. Randolph was born with a golden spoon in his mouth. He is rich. He has many slaves. He is also a politician, and as such, he flirted briefly with the ideas of liberty and equality. But the governor has seen the light. Property is the thing that counts.
Well, wouldn't you say, sir, that the protection of private property is important for the welfare of the country?
Important, yes. But human rights are equally important. And where, I ask you, where do you find one single mention of human rights in this Constitution that we are asked to ratify today?
But if that is so, Mr. Henry, how do you explain that 8 states have already ratified the Constitution?
Citizens of those 8 states would bargain away their heritage of freedom for a mess of pot. For my part, give me liberty, greatest of all earthly blessings. Give me that precious jewel, and you may take everything else.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Here comes Mr. Madison. He's a small man and quiet of voice, but Mr. Madison yields to no man in intellectual capacity. Indeed, he is as famous for the logic of his arguments as Mr. Patrick Henry is for the brilliance of his oratory. Mr. Madison! Mr. Madison, Mr. Henry has just charged that the Constitution places property rights above human rights.
An interesting phrase. But then Patrick Henry is a master of interesting phrases. One of them helped to start our revolution. The trouble is, Mr. Henry is in a constant state of revolution. He should remember that the war is over and that his antagonists in this hall are not redcoats.
Yes, Mr. Madison, but what about his argument, sir?
Yes. Property rights above human rights. Well, now, suppose we examine that without the benefit of oratory, shall we? Mr. Henry would give you the impression that this is a struggle between the rich and the poor, the strong and the weak. The fact is, sir, that there are wealthy men who hate the Constitution and poor men who love it. The point is that all Americans, rich and poor, are in dire straits today because we have no strong central government. Mr. Henry poses as the shining knight of liberty. But where, sir, is liberty without order? Order is what we need, not at the expense of human rights, but precisely to render them secure.
Well, Mr. Madison, it's been reported that Mr. Thomas Jefferson, our ambassador to France, is against the Constitution.
That, sir, is a distortion. Mr. Jefferson is a friend of mine. I'm in constant correspondence with him. It is true that he disagrees with some aspects of the Constitution, but on the whole, he favors it. As a matter of fact, it would be well for Mr. Henry to remember there are other patriots of the war for independence who stand behind the Constitution. Not only Thomas Jefferson.
but General Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Alexander Hamilton, John Dickinson, and a host of others.
Thank you, Mr. Madison.
A pleasure, sir.
Well, you've heard that the Constitution would be of great benefit to all Americans, and you've also heard that it will benefit only the rich. Outside this Virginia Hall, there's a representative crowd waiting for the result of the vote, and Ken Roberts is out there. So let's switch to him and find out how these people feel about the Constitution. Go ahead, Ken Roberts.
In this crowd, judging by their dress, are people from every section and class of Virginia. I see men who are obviously planters, others who must be tradesmen, and a large number of farming folk. Some of them must have come a long way to be in Richmond at this fateful hour. Here, for instance, is a tall man wearing a fringed shirt and a coonskin cap. Where are you from, sir?
I be from Pineville, in the Western District.
You're a delegate, sir?
Nay. I come here to watch all the delegates.
Oh?
I want to be sure they vote the way they're supposed to.
And, how are the delegates of the Western District supposed to vote, Mr.
Holloway, Thomas Holloway, and they're still supposed to vote against the Constitution when Governor Randolph will be paying for turning his coat on us come next election.
Would you mind telling us why you're against the Constitution, Mr. Holloway?
See this bullet wound in my left arm? I received it 10 years ago, come September. I received it fighting to free Virginia from the rule of King George.
Don't you mean that you were fighting to free the United States?
Nay, to free Virginia.
But aren't you a citizen of the United States?
Nay, I'm a citizen of Virginia. We fought to be rid of the third George, and we want no fourth to take his place.
Then you think the Constitution would result in a king being imposed on the American states?
Aye.
What makes you think so?
If there be a Constitution, there'll be a president. If there be a president, he'll waste no time making himself into a monarch.
But, Mr. Holloway, it's generally agreed that if the Constitution is ratified, the first president of the United States will be General George Washington.
Aye. He'll waste no time making himself into a monarch.
You think that General Washington, if elected, will establish a monarchy?
Aye. There'll be nothing in the Constitution to stop him if he's a mind to. And I reckon he'll have a mind to. Power would be spoiling a man, say I. There's always
That's a ridiculous statement.
Mr. Holloway has just been interrupted by a well-dressed man in the crowd.
Trapped in the jail for talking that way about General Washington.
Would you have the mind to be crying at me, fine
You're besmirching the reputation of the best kind of
Gentlemen, just a moment. Sir, we'll be glad to have your opinions on General Washington and the Constitution after Mr. Holloway has
Speak for
finished.
himself. I have no
Now,
pleasure
Mr.
in
Holloway,
his opinion.
Mr. Holloway, you were just saying
Aye.
General Washington will make himself king if the Constitution is ratified.
Aye, and he could do it. According to the Constitution, the President would have his own standing army.
Yes, but wouldn't the army be subject to the decisions of the federal Congress?
With a gun at its throat, what could the Congress do? He'll be making himself monarch, Congress or no.
Thank you, Mr. Holloway. Now, sir, now you have your opportunity.
He'll tell you now, he's an empty head.
Empty head. There you see. Abuse, canard. That's the way with you rascals. You impute the most dastardly motives to the patriots who frame the Constitution. You don't want the truth.
Don't want the truth.
You're a right, troublemaker. That's all you are. Scum of the backwoods.
Be holding your tongue now, you value that empty head.
Please, gentlemen, we were discussing something else. Let's get back to the Constitution.
Yes, indeed, the Constitution. I predict, sir, that unless the Constitution is ratified, the merchants of this country will be ruined, wiped out utterly.
Are you a merchant, sir?
Yes, sir, I am.
I wouldn't call him that.
I am a merchant, sir. I trade in tobacco, fine Virginia leaf, sir. Ask anyone in Richmond, you'll find that Ralph Barker handles only the best.
And you feel that the Constitution, if ratified, would be a boon to business?
Absolutely, sir. Business is bad today. Oh, bad, very bad. And my warehouse is bursting with unsold tobacco. The country is in a depression. And it's because of the money situation. It's scandalous. Absolutely.
Would you explain that, please, Mr. Barker?
Yes, you explain.
I will if you will only give me a chance. My word, there are so many different kinds of money in circulation. It drives a man insane. Doubloons, pistoles, gold, Johannes's, English, French crowns, English guineas, Spanish dollars. Yes, and to cap it all, the states are issuing money that isn't worth the paper it's printed on. Now, how on earth can a merchant do business under such conditions?
It must be difficult.
Difficult? Why, it's impossible. It's confusion compounded into an unholy mess.
And you feel that the Constitution, if ratified, would restore order in interstate commerce and regulate the currency?
Yes, sir, I do. Of course I do. The Constitution specifically...
This is John Daly in Convention Hall. We have interrupted Ken Roberts because Governor Randolph has just come in. He entered by a side door to avoid the crowd outside. Now he is walking down the aisle, and the tension here is so thick one can literally feel it. Mr. Henry has just snubbed Governor Randolph, and the snub was unmistakable. His face pale, the governor has walked to his seat, sits down, shakes hands with Mr. Madison. Now the gavel sounds. Mr. Pendleton, president of the convention, is calling the delegates to order. The final debate will begin in a few moments. As you know, the resolution embodying the Constitution has already been debated clause by clause in the 3 weeks this convention has been in session. And now, Mr. Pendleton.
The ratifying convention is hereby declared to be officially convened. By previous agreement, the final speech in opposition to ratification will be made by Mr. Patrick Henry, and he will be followed by Mr. James Madison, who will speak in favor of ratification of the proposed federal constitution. I now recognize the first speaker, Mr. Henry.
And Patrick Henry rises, walking slowly up the aisle. He's moving toward the front of the hall. Now he's mounting the rostrum. His hawk-like eyes under that ragged wig look out piercingly around the room, and they have come to rest on Governor Randolph. Mr. Henry stares at the governor now with an expression of, well, you might almost call it contempt. And now Mr. Henry is about to speak.
My concluding remarks in behalf of the anti-Constitution party, the party of liberty, will be brief. But I would first make a few observations on the conduct of one of the delegates. I am referring to none other than Governor Edmund Randolph. Last year in Philadelphia, Governor Randolph denounced the Constitution. It seems to me very strange that which was then the subject of his denunciation should today become the object of his praise. Something extraordinary must have happened to operate so great a change in his opinion.
Mr. President! Mr. President!
Governor Randolph is calling for the floor. He's been ruled out of order. Now, Mr. Henry.
I yield to the member. Let us hear what the honorable member has to say.
The honorable speaker hints that I have changed my opinions for some hidden and therefore discreditable reason.
I have no personal intention of offending anyone. I merely do my duty.
The gentleman smiles when he says that. His conduct is malicious, and it is not compatible with the least shadow of friendship. Very well. If our friendship must fall, let it fall like Lucifer, never to rise again.
Does the member accuse me of malicious behavior?
I believe the meaning of my words is clear.
Is the member prepared to back up his remarks with deeds?
If the gentleman seeks satisfaction, he will find my seconds ready.
I thank the gentleman for his willingness to render satisfaction. Mr. President, I request a short recess in order to arrange the details of a matter of honor.
This is unprecedented. However, due to the member's request is granted, I hereby declare a 5-minute recess.
Mr. Randolph and Mr. Henry are leaving the hall, no doubt to choose and confer with their seconds as is traditional in these affairs of honor among gentlemen. This is a startling turn of events, and we'll try and bring you the developments just as fast as we can. The floor here is a scene of confusion. The delegates are milling about, shouting and arguing, shaking their fists at each other, and from the look of things here, it would almost seem that there'll be more affairs of honor out there on the floor of this convention hall unless this convention is called back into order, and very soon. And there's Mr. Pendleton. Mr. Pendleton, sir, will the session resume in spite of this conflict between Mr. Henry and Mr. Randolph?
Yes, I will reconvene in 5 minutes.
And the vote will be taken as scheduled, sir?
Certainly.
Do you have anything to say on that?
Not now, please.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pendleton. The debate will continue. The vote will be taken despite this dramatic interruption. As you know, Mr. Henry is one of the principal speakers, and he must be back before the convention can properly be reconvened. As I said before, the floor is a scene of confusion, and there is a chance there'll be more of these affairs of honor unless the convention is indeed called back into session, and very soon. But now I've seen Ned Calmer out there circulating quickly among the delegates to learn how Mr. Henry's attack on Governor Randolph will affect the vote. So let's go over to our CBS headquarters booth and Ned Calmer.
thanks. Well, on the basis of my brief conversations with the delegates just now, it's safe to say that Mr. Henry, by his open attack on Mr. Randolph, has restored the situation to what it was before the governor came out in favor of the Constitution. Yes, I'd say there's no doubt about that. The delegates from the rural districts admire forceful speech and prompt action. They saw it today, and no matter what outsiders may think of Mr. Henry's conduct, well, his action sits well with the country people. These rural delegates who might have been shaken by Governor Randolph's new allegiance to the Federalists now seem to be back in the anti-Constitution fold, definitely. And it does look as if the Constitution may fail of ratification. And now Mr. Pendleton has called the convention to order again, so back to John Daly on the convention floor.
The Republic itself.
The delegates are again seated. The convention has reconvened, and Mr. Henry has resumed the floor and is speaking on the resolution embodying the proposed federal constitution of the United States of America. Now let's listen to Mr. Patrick Henry.
Exclusion of the 4 remaining states. Congress, under this proposed constitution, would have a tyrant power and more. It could lay whatever taxes it chooses. With a standing army, it could keep the people in submission. The president, if he should be ruthless and able, could make himself an absolute ruler. I would rather have a king, lords, and a House of Commons than a government replete with such insupportable evils. Gentlemen, my opponents ask you to surrender not only the sword and the purse, but the very scales of justice. Ratify this Constitution, and you place our state courts at the mercy of federal courts. A monstrous creation. I dread popular resistance to this proposed government. So vague, so indefinite, so ambiguous in its assurances of liberty and human rights. Let me warn you in the most emphatic terms of the dreadful effects which must ensue should the people resist. I beg, I beseech the delegates to search their consciences and vote nay on this resolution, lest they rouse the people to rebellion in defense of their God-given liberties.
Mr. Henry has left the rostrum, and Mr. Madison is coming up now to speak. He carries his hat in his hand. Now he's taking some slips of paper out of the hat. They are the notes for his address, and he's waiting for the convention to come to order.
Order. The chair recognizes Mr. James Madison.
Mr. President, fellow delegates, I yield to no man in my respect for the previous speaker. Yet in these brief concluding remarks, I would point out that his objections to the Constitution arise out of misunderstanding. This is not strange because the form of government we are proposing is new, unique in the history of the world. Let the delegates, therefore, not measure it by outmoded standards. Mr. President, the American states have stirred the admiration of the world by setting up free governments under the pressure of war. How much more will they win admiration if they should be able peaceably to establish one central government when not cemented by common danger? But will the states achieve that goal? Suppose only 8 states ratify and Virginia refuses to become the 9th except on her own terms. Then even if the others agree to our terms, which is doubtful, every state must call new conventions to consider the amendments. There will be endless disagreements. Every state will be encouraged to offer its own amendment. Agreement will be even more difficult to reach than it was in Philadelphia. In short, Mr. President, if Virginia holds out today, the United States may never have a functioning central government. But if Virginia ratifies the Constitution, it may bring the most fortunate event in the history of mankind. I therefore respectfully submit that the honorable delegates vote yea on the resolution before us. The resolution
containing the Constitution of the United States of America.
Mr. Madison replaces his notes in his hat and leaves the rostrum, and from the floor, many voices calling the question. Mr. Pendleton is raising his gavel.
The convention will now vote on the resolution embodying the proposed Constitution for the United States of America. The vote will be by a show of hands. A simple majority will decide. Those delegates who are in favor, those who wish to vote aye on the proposition, will raise their right hand.
Hands are going up all over the hall, and the tellers are moving about counting. A total of 166 votes will be cast. 84 are necessary to carry or defeat the resolution. And it seems now as if half the number of delegates here have their hands up, but it's impossible to tell exactly. However, it's going to be close. You can be sure of that. Very close. We'll know the result in a moment from the aye count. If it's 84 or over, the ayes will have it, and the Constitution will be ratified here in the Virginia Convention and will become the law of the land. The tellers have completed their count now and are moving up to report to the rostrum. They're at the rostrum. Mr. Pendleton is receiving their reports, checking the totals, and we'll know in a moment. Mr. Pendleton.
The tellers report in favor of the resolution, 89 votes.
The United States is now committed to a strong central government. We're to have a president, a Congress, a federal judiciary, a national army under the Constitution. I have a copy here in my hand, and its preamble begins, "We, the people of the United States, in order..."
June 25th, 1788, Virginia ratifies the Constitution and government of, by, and for the people begins. You are there.
This is CBS, where 99 million people gather every week, the Columbia Broadcasting System.